Well,
I'm still deciding on the Pact of the Tome stuff for my character. I think I should just take Spare the Dying.
Spare the Dying is a nice, but I think
Yeah,
Julong
it,
might have that as well.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like because they're a life cleric, and I'm pretty sure they have Spare the
Yeah.
Dying. I don't want to double up on it because then that like makes us.
But what if they go down?
Yeah, it's a good backup.
Yeah, but healing brings a person back up. Spare the Dying is like make sure that they don't perma die, but they're still unconscious.
Yeah, it just stops saving throws.
Yeah, it's.
Well, welcome to session 3 of Curse of Strahd.
Yep.
We started our campaign with our adventurers making their way to the city of Neverwinter for a festival called Shieldmeet that happens once every 4 years. Each of the travelers had their own reasons for going to the city, and eventually they each made their way to Neverwinter in turn. Exploring the festival, bumping into some strange people that seem to be from a different time, and getting into a little bit of hijinks in the city, and eventually all coming together and meeting each other in a small camp about a mile outside of the city, and being introduced to a people called the Vistani, who had a tale to tell. A man by the name of Stanimir, who was seemingly telling an old story of their people, but at the end of his story, he looked at each of the adventurers in turn and asked them directly if they could help him and his people. So it seemed that just an old tale was actually something that proved to be actually happening, and he convinced them, or they agreed, to help these Vistani. And so they traveled up north towards the spine of the world to a place called the Heart Vale. And once they reached the forest, or the Heart Wood, thick mist rolled in, consuming the travelers in their caravan of colorful wagons. And once they made their way through the misty woods, they found themselves on a bumpy, muddy road with towering pine trees on all sides of them. And the lead cart in their wagon train hit a big rut in the road, and one of the wagon wheels broke off. Whether or not it is because the Tabaxi during their 20-day journey was clawing at the wagon wheel or not remains to be unseen, but Stanimir, the leader of the procession, told that the members of their party that they should just go on ahead while they fix the wagons, and they will meet them in the town through the gates and along the road. So you guys find yourselves at the edge of the woods with two towering stone figures and a heavy wooden gate before you, about a half a mile ahead. You can see that even from this distance, the heads of these tall statues have kind of toppled. I'll actually change the music here and maybe turn it down a little bit.
Just for reference, are we currently recording or no?
Yeah, I'm going.
Okay, just wanted to clarify on that.
Yeah. You can see that the sky above is it seems to be day, but there are just rolling dark clouds all as far as you can see above your head, and there's a kind of a light rain coming down, adding a little bit of thickness to the mists on either side of the woods. You can barely see maybe 15 or 20 feet past the tree line on either side of you. And as you hop off of the wagons and begin making your way forward towards the gates on foot, off in the distance, a solitary wolf howl pierces the eerie silence of the misty woods around you.
Well, I guess we should start heading into town then.
Yeah, sure. Nuru is very on edge.
Yeah. Nice to know can Nice to know actually make a check about that wolf howl?
Sure.
Because being in the north, she's definitely heard enough wolves in the
What
winter waste.
what kind of information are you trying to ascertain about the howl?
Well, whether it's like a normal wolf or is there something off about the howl? Because like wolves in the north, sometimes there's scarier ones than the normal.
Sure.
Believe.
Yeah.
So,
A wolf that is perhaps more dire.
I I would say
or more
make
more acclimated to winter.
a survival survival or even a animal handling check would do.
Both are the same, so I'll just do survival.
I figured as much. You know, it's pretty far off. It kind of you know, bounces off the thick wood of the forest, and by the time it reaches you, it's very faint. But you definitely know it's a wolf howl.
So this gate, it's 2 statues and then a gate in between. What's stopping us from just walking around the statues?
Well, let me see. Let me see if I can. Well, there's a on either side, kind of let me see if I can find the picture of the gates again. So on either side, you can kind of see that there's thick mountainous rock that comes up on either side of the statues. Does that pop up for you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, cool. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's there's not quite so much light that's currently like portrayed in this image. You know, it's quite a bit mistier and quite a bit darker. And as you are traveling forward towards the gate, Nice Snow, you actually catch the faint scent of decay off to one side of the road. Like a light breeze kind of blows past you guys, and Nice Snow, you just ever so slightly pick up the faint scent of something decaying off in the heavy overgrowth into the mist and the woods.
And that the scent of that puts her on edge, and she proceeds to like keep her eyes peeled around in the woods as they continue.
Oh, I just wanted it to be noted that Naru's pupils are very much dilated right now. They are dinner plates.
Your pupils are dilated?
Yeah, how when cats get those nice round pupils.
Oh, you didn't like pilfer any hallucinogens from the Vistani or anything?
No.
Okay.
There's still time.
Something was laced. I swear it.
You also said it's quite dark, yeah?
It's you can tell that it's like daytime, you know, like there's that kind of an ambient light like coming through the clouds above, but it's definitely so it's like not it's obviously not nighttime, you know, there's not like total darkness around you. But it would be, you know, it's definitely like darker than it normally would be with a cloudy sky, like back where you came from or whatever, you know.
I'm going to cast light on my clothes.
On your clothes?
Yep.
Okay.
Let's just say on a button on my chest.
Nice Snow, do you mention the scent of death, or do you try to investigate it at all?
She's wary about investigating it. She's more comfortable with sticking to the road. Drawing on some past issues she's had. But she will mention the stench of death over in the woods. And she'll be like, I believe something has recently died.
Sure. So you can make a perception check then, as well as once you mention it, the rest of you can make perception checks as well if you want to.
Yeah, Naru is going to do that cat thing where they open their mouth a little bit so they can catch a better profile of the scent.
Sure.
And with this nice snow casts the light on top of her head in order to not blind her night vision as she's going forward. Oh,
Nuru and Ricky, off to the right side of the road, a little ways in, you can see something looks like it's kind of ruffling in the underbrush, maybe 15 or 20 feet into the woods. You can't really tell what it is, but there's definitely something that's kind of moving the ferns and stuff off the path a little ways. And even you, Ricky, can kind of smell the decay in that direction now as well.
There's something in the woods. Perhaps we should get a move on.
How far away are they from the party or from the caravans?
You guys are probably a good half mile now. You've been walking for, maybe 10 minutes or so. The gates were kind of some distance away, but they're so large that you could even see them off from a ways.
Should we go back and tell the others?
I would assume they have warriors they can defend themselves.
So you just ignore it and start heading towards the gates more again?
I'm not really ignoring it. I'm taking very much note of it and saying we should hurry up so we don't have to engage it.
yeah.
Sure.
And
it's not like it doesn't seem like it's something huge. It seems like it's something small that's like ruffling the bushes.
Nice snow. Are we close to where the bushes are rustling?
Yeah, it's only about 20 feet off the path.
She will. Yep. What is Nuru gonna do?
You first.
Okay. Nice Snow is going to bring up her fingers, and on each of her fingers, a light is going to appear, and she's going to send them forth to illuminate that entire area and head into the bush as well.
Oh, okay.
In order to
as your globes of light kind of sail off towards the misty tree line and stop over the bush where it's kind of rustling there, and you begin to kind of wade through the heavy overgrowth, a black bird, what appears to be maybe a raven or a crow, flies up from out of the bush with a caw and flaps up and starts flying over towards the gates, and it kind of flies up high and disappears into the mist, and then the bushes are still. And as you keep making your way towards where the creature was, the scent of decay begins to grow stronger and stronger, and as you get to where the creature was ruffling the overgrowth, you look down and you can see kind of between the branches of the fern here, there looks to be like a decaying hand that's been kind of picked at a little bit, and gripped tightly in its clutches, there's like a crumpled, blood-stained, kind of halfway soaked through envelope of some sort. It's like brown, and looks like it has some sort of wax seal on the one end side of it.
I'm assuming only Nice Snow would see it at this point.
Yeah, he sees it for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice Snow goes and sees this thing and is going to motion over towards it, but is not going to approach it. He's going to mention that there's a hand there. Towards
Nuru
yeah.
very cautiously walk up.
Sure. You start making your way the 20 feet towards Nice Snow, in towards the woods. As you're about halfway towards Nice Snow, another wolf howl pierces, and then another one right behind it follows up. Seems a little closer now.
Are we able to tell what direction it's coming from, or is it just echoing everywhere?
It sounds like definitely one's coming from this direction, and it sounds a lot closer than it was before, or a little closer than it was before. And the
is
one
that
that
also...
the one that echoed behind it seems like it was coming from the other side of the road.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fainter than the second howl from the first creature.
Yeah, Nice Snow immediately goes on edge, and you can hear her say, "They are surrounding us."
Nuru will take a cloth, probably one of the cloths he had from to muffle his coins or whatever, and he will take that note and pick it up and store it away in his backpack.
Sure. As you reach down and try and grab the note, like as you lift it up from between the ferns, out of the overgrowth, the hand, whoever this person was when they died, was clutching in such fear before they were torn apart that the hand kind of sticks to the letter as you pull it up. So as you grab the letter, there's a hand still clutching it as you lift it out off the ground. Just a severed hand. It looks like some of the meat's been chewed on over the thumb and forefinger, kind of chewed away. And it's like slimy and bloody and muddy. And there's a letter gripped in between its fingers.
Yeah, Naru's ears are flattened back in disgust. I mean, he's just going to take a knife and slowly just try to pry the hand away from the letter.
Yeah, it's not too difficult. He managed to just pry the fingers open with your knife. You cut a little bit of the envelope by mistake, but otherwise you tuck the envelope away, and do you guys just make your way back towards the road?
Yeah,
I shout from the road, "All right, you guys are done playing the bushes. Can we go now? I don't really want to be torn apart by wolves."
and you see Nice Snow like get out of there fast.
Yeah.
And then she
caught on her tail.
Yeah.
And she is very on edge about the wolves because she's been taught by the bear folk very well.
Yeah. As
And Nuru,
no, go ahead, Nuru.
Nuru had once they get back to the path, he's gonna put the knife away and probably put load an arrow onto his bow. Just because.
Sure.
I would say that Nice Snow is preparing Eldritch Blast in case anything comes out of the woods at them.
Yeah.
Ricky is running at the gate.
Yeah, so you guys kind of pick up your pace a little bit with your bow drawn and a spell ready, and as you get closer, you kind of look up to the gates, and both the doors are shut, but as you get closer and closer, they begin to creak and groan and open, seemingly of their own accord. And you can see that there's a solitary black bird perched on one of the crumpled stone buttresses of these humanoid-looking figures atop the hilt of the big greatswords they're holding between their hands. And it's almost like it's looking down at you guys with one eye as you run towards the gates and make your way through them, I would assume.
Yeah, Ricky's like full freak out mode.
Sure. So you guys make your way through the tall gates, and as you pass through and continue down the road, you hear the gates behind you creak and groan, and they close again behind you with a loud clanking sound, and you kind of look back over your shoulder, and you see the backsides of the stone pillars, and the doors seem to have closed totally, and there's just high mountain pass that kind of comes in on either side, kind of closing you off.
Okay, we're fine. This is fine. Everyone's fine. Is everyone fine?
And
Nuru,
No one's fine. Okay, no one's fine. Okay, go on.
As you guys continue to make your way down the road, essentially you eventually come out, and the heavy tree line kind of opens up into a bit of a flat plain, and the mists kind of thin out, and down maybe another 2 miles ahead of you or so in the distance, you can see the faint you can see a smattering of structures. Some of them seem to have a faint glow of light coming out of their windows, and it seems like down the straight road ahead of you, through the thin mist, there's a small village or town. You can definitely hear or see to the south of you along the plains that it becomes kind of marshy, and you can even maybe hear the faint sound of a running river or stream or something. Nuru, do you examine the letter as you guys make your 2-mile march towards the village?
yeah, eventually, once they make it past the gate, he'll put his he'll un he'll un he'll put away his bow. There we go. That's the correct phrasing. And he'll carefully pull out the letter, being careful not to touch it with his bare fingers, using the cloth instead as a barrier.
Sure. And you just kind of break the wax seal and pull out the letter within.
Mm-hmm.
So as you open it, there is a letter folded up inside of the envelope, in a neat scrawl, and it says, "Hail to thee of might and valor. I, the burgomaster of Barovia, send you honor with despair. My adopted daughter, the fair Irina Koliana, has been these past nights bitten by a vampire. For over 400 years, this creature has drained the lifeblood of my people. Now, dear Irina languishes and dies from an unholy wound caused by this vile beast. He has become too powerful to conquer. So I say to you, give us up for dead, and encircle this land with the symbols of good. Let holy men call upon their power, that the devil may be contained within the walls of weeping Barovia. Leave our sorrows to our graves, and save the world from this evil fate of ours. There is much wealth trapped within this community. Return for your reward after we are all departed for a better life." And it is signed Kolyan Indirovich, Burgomaster. It seems as some sort of letter of warning, and whoever the bearer was did not reach his intended destination before he was torn apart by wolves.
Nuru will have read the letter out loud, so the others can read
Sure.
as well.
And we've already passed through the gates, correct?
You've passed through the gates, yeah, and you're emerging from the tree line, and the road seems to be much like it was on the other side of the gates. There are seemingly many deep ruts that are pooling with water, and as you emerge from the woods, the rain seems to begin to become quite a bit heavier. Big, thick drops of rain begin to fall, clearing most of the mist, but still making it kind of difficult to see. The clouds seem like they begin to darken, and you can even hear the rumbles of thunder in the distance, even as you break out into these kind of flat plains towards the small village up ahead, and the light coming out of some of the windows of the village become a bit brighter as the sky darkens above you, and you continue to make your way towards the village. It takes you maybe about another 45 minutes or so along the road on foot before you.
Would I have read any stories of vampire in my reading days?
You can make a history check. I would say, there were definitely stories in some of the books that other halflings had brought back to your village, depicting tales of vampires. The legends kind of contain that, they are creatures that like to torment their victims before drawing their life from them. They tend to need blood to survive, and vampires usually tend to be immortal creatures with very few and specific ways of slaying them, but there weren't any in some of the books that you had read in the libraries of your hometown or home village. There weren't any really specifics of what those ways were. It was more just that these creatures are creatures of legend, and none of the halflings from your village who brought their stories back to your town really had come face to face with one, but more of just stories they'd heard on their travels of them. And I apologize. I'm like going to burst right now. I gotta pee real quick, so I'll be BRB.
Okay. Are we cut off? Are we off recording right now or no?
Let me check. At least not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Wait. It's loading. Great. My internet's also shit. Is your camera on?
My camera?
Yeah, it's just black for me, and it has been for a while.
Yeah, same for you and the DM for me.
You might want to reconnect.
Yeah, I'll reconnect. There you go, reconnected. But now yours is only showing your picture, like your.
Yeah, yours too.
All three are working for me.
I reconnected. Still having the same issue.
Yeah, huh? I'm going to voice a video for it just to double check it. Better?
Let me reconnect again.
You're moving for me again. You were frozen for me there.
Yeah. For some reason I can't see her video and she can't see mine. Thank you. Sorry. Been a bit.
Now I can't see either of your videos.
I'll refresh too. It's cool.
My powerful Australian that trumps all.
You're not the only one I can't see again this night.
Dang it! His video has favorite terrain. I don't like this.
Can you see me?
I can see your picture, but I can't see your video if you have one.
You can't see me.
Man, you are the stealthiest rogue.
If only I was a rogue.
I don't know. You suddenly multi-classed. Congratulations.
I don't want to steal Frankie's job.
Yeah, for some reason I can't see the DM or Frankie Boy's video. There you go. I can see yours now. Yay. Can't see the DMs. I wonder if he's still connecting in.
I'm refreshing and now I'm loading again.
Okay.
But everybody's. Everybody's blank for me now, so I'll just I'll exit.
And you're
real
the one
quick and
underneath the pictures for the stream.
BRB. Sorry about this.
Yeah, technical issues always an issue with streaming.
I was doing all right when we started, but then everyone's kind of started.
I'm gonna check my.
Yeah, I guess it's because of the storm.
Yeah, it's probably because of the storm for sure.
Yeah.
It's because of the rains down in Africa.
Oh, don't even do that. I heard that reference.
Fucking god. It's so hot in my room. I think it's in the 80s.
Yeah. So I've locked in my Pact of the Tome spells. I'm just gonna leave them where they are.
Alright, come back here. Arthur, you're not a ball python, and yet you're all curled up like one. Look at this.
I'll be back in a second. Gotta let the cat out before she goes crazy.
Hold up. There. Oh. Sure.
Oh wait, no. That reference earlier still has me messed up. Now I'm just replacing Africa with Barovia.
It must be the Barovian storm that's fucking with me, because now everything's kind of going slow for me. I should have never introduced thunder to the game.
You were playing with thunder. Never goes well. Thor does not approve of
Yeah.
You need a
the
Tempest
gods
character,
are
please.
angry.
I'm stealing Thor's thunder for sure.
Percy Jackson lightning thief all over again.
So is everyone back? Am I the only one that's just fucking up right now?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, cool. You guys get closer and closer to this small village.
Can we see the village? Like
yeah,
how,
you can. I just have to get all my stuff up again because I got a little.
Yeah. One refresh and everything's gone.
Yeah.
Oh, something touched my leg and now it's burning.
Short answer.
So you guys come in
Mosquitoes.
kind of here on the east side of this small town. And you can see the as you make your way into the town, you can see it's the streets are pretty sparse. There doesn't seem to be a soul in sight. You can see many of the as you come into town, many of the windows on the lower floors of most of the houses here seem to be barred or boarded up, and they are dark and devoid of any light. You can see, though, some of the upper levels of the buildings do have a bit of faint light, flickering light spilling out into the dark streets of the town, and occasionally you can see a curtain, a shadowy figure pass by a curtained window. Somewhere off in the distance, you can kind of hear occasionally, it sounds like maybe a small cart or something is rolling down one of the side streets, and eventually, or every once in a while, you can hear like a loud rapping at maybe somebody's front door. Um, so as you guys enter into the city here from the east, what do you do? You just make your way down the main thoroughfare of the town, or
Nice Snow remarks that it seems bleaker here.
Naru's gonna smile brightly and say, "Ah, just like home, but with less death and murder."
Nice Snow looks at your character with like a what? And then just like shakes her head and goes and continues looking around and is checking the windows and
yeah, make a perception check for me.
because she notices that this is not normal behavior from the last town she was in. So, perception check.
Yeah.
Yep. Here we go. Boop.
Yeah, you can definitely see as you're taking a closer look at some of the buildings as you enter the town that on the lower levels of some of the buildings that are two-story, and even the buildings that are just one-story buildings, many of them have deep scratch marks in the sides of the walls. The windows that seem boarded up, you can see shards of glass under the windows like they've been broken out. Some of the buildings even look like they've been set on fire. They're kind of scorched and blackened. Even some of the buildings' front doors are look like they're missing, and if the front door's missing, even boards have been kind of nailed over the front of the doors of the open frames. And it's definitely seems very desolate, and the streets are just totally barren, except for like the faint sound of the occasional knocking on a front door or wood of some kind off in the distance.
This
Naru's
place.
going to try to peek through like some of the boards if there are spaces to try to look into the houses.
Yeah, you could definitely try and peek into a building nearby if you wanted to.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, real quick, where are we currently on this map?
Do you see down here where the token is?
Right,
Yeah.
right there. Okay.
Yeah.
Good, okay, good to know.
I'm gonna say where are the guards? They've left this town undefended. Hello? Hello?
And Nice Snow remarks, this town has obviously suffered. This is actions of people guarding themselves or bracing themselves for something to come.
Can I make an intelligence check as to whether I think there would be enemies nearby?
Yeah, sure, you could. You can make an investigation check or a perception check, I would say.
The investigation, then.
You definitely, coming from one of the houses at least nearby as you enter the town here, you can smell more of that kind of faint stench of decay from one of the buildings nearby. You don't necessarily know if that means it would be an enemy, but there's definitely more smell of death that hits underneath your nostrils as you come into town.
Oh, this isn't good. Maybe we should leave.
What would Naru have to roll to look at the peak?
Kind of near where you guys have entered the first part of the town here, there looks like there are two tall, two-story larger homes. This one here looks like it has light coming out of the windows up above on the second floor. Most of the windows seem to have been knocked out on the first level and boarded up. It still has its front door intact, and the exterior of the building has like a wrought iron gate around it with the fence or the gate of the fence kind of looks like it's been torn off, and it's kind of lying in the street ahead of you.
Let's check like an abandoned home.
Yeah, these other 4 buildings here around you at the first part of the town are all 1 story. Most of them, just like that other 2-story house, all have their windows either boarded or barred. But there's no light coming out from any of them. And there's no light coming out from this house as well, which is another 2-story home. So the 5 here at the first part of the town that are lining either side of the street are all pretty much dark and boarded up. And there is one house on that corner there that from the second story does look like there's some light, and which might indicate some sort of human life, or what you would assume to be human life.
Perhaps we should find a tavern. That's where I'd hide if everything went to shit.
Yeah, Nuru's going to check out like those 5 houses if we can real quick.
You want to pick one for me?
I guess the closest one first. Like,
Okay.
we would ideally check all of them.
So maybe
if
like
possible.
this little
Yeah.
tiny shack here. Yeah, it does. As you get closer to that one, that does seem to be where the fairly heavy stench of decay or death is coming from. You know, there are little gaps in the boards that are blocking up the windows, and you peek through, and you can even see kind of a outline of a humanoid shape standing there, kind of still and silent in the interior of what used to be some sort of like maybe den or a common room.
Is this thing alive?
It's definitely standing upright. It's kind of faced away from you, and it looks like it's wearing some old tattered clothing. But it's just kind of standing there in the darkness of the room, and facing. It's got its kind of back to you, so you can't. I mean, most creatures, if they're dead, can't stand upright on their own, you know. So you would assume that it's alive. It doesn't seem to be propped up by anything or.
Nuru's tail is going to like lash back and forth a few times, and he's going to back away.
Okay.
I take it back. This does remind me exactly of home.
Does Ricky see the person?
Halflings don't have dark vision, right?
No, but I have light up.
Yeah. You cast light on like one of the buttons of your vest. As you make your way over to the structure, the window's still maybe like a foot above like how tall you are. So you would have to like kind of pull yourself up to look through one of the cracks in the wooden beams that have been hammered over the window.
Nuru would try to push him away. Or then try to pull him back if he saw him making his way over.
Sure.
What are you doing?
There's someone in there.
That's great. We need someone. They can tell us what happened.
No, there's. It smells like death in there.
I don't.
So I guess like you would have still been kind of standing right by the window, and then you would have walked up like next to Nuru, Ricky.
Yeah.
Like Nuru moved it back from the window.
Oh, okay. So you're not like super close to the window.
Oh.
Okay.
That doesn't make sense. If it's a person, it's a person. Let's talk to the person.
Not all people are good.
I don't.
Nice Snow looks at her with a bit of curiosity about that comment, and nods the head in agreement, and says to Ricky, like, if you wish to go talk with them, you can.
I'm going to try and go talk to them. Like, breaking the meta here. Ricky knows nothing of the undead.
Yeah. And Nice Snow will like throw a bunch of dancing lights into that room to light it up.
Naru's going to like hiss in agitation. Like you can see his claws, like he just flex a little bit, and he's going to move so he's in the shadows.
Yeah.
So he's more in the shadows and not in direct light.
Sure. So you guys are all kind of standing around in this muddy ground still, and underfoot there's kind of these wet cobblestones. And Ricky, you're trying to like get into the house.
I'm going to is the doorway barred up?
So you're kind of on the. It seems like the front door is probably on the opposite side of this building. Like there's two windows that are facing the backside, and it looks like this house was kind of built so like if you went around to the other side, you'd probably find the front door.
I'm just going to climb up to the window, tap on the glass, and go, "Hello, hello."
Yeah. So as you kind of reach your hand up and tap on the wooden boards that have been hammered in over the broken out window, and you call in, and you can hear your voice kind of echo inside the structure. There's silence for a moment, and then a few moments later, you hear like a slamming on the wood behind you, and kind of like one of the boards gets pushed out and falls to your feet as this whatever this thing was inside of this building reaches like a ghastly decayed hand out and starts swiping down at you, hissing.
I leap backwards.
Yeah.
And I say, I see what you mean. What a strange individual.
Naru's like his dagger is out, clutched in his paw.
Nice Snow is basically watching this scenario with indifference, and is just like standing there like deadpan face at Ricky's realization, and is
would both of you know of the undead?
Yes, my character definitely knows of the undead.
As the creature's kind of flailing its arm out of the window, it then kind of like reaches back and grabs it kind of popped out the board in the center of the window, and its arms out there flailing, and then it reaches back and grabs onto the lower board and begins to wrench at it and pull it out and push it with its other arm kind of violently, and it pushes another board out, and then you can see its like hands grab over the lip of the window, and it begins to try and crawl out of the house through the window, and this kind of like ragged, decayed-looking, gray humanoid figure appears, and it kind of fumbles out, tumbles out through the window, and lands in the mud and dirt below the windowsill, and its head kind of licks up over towards you guys, and it exposes some yellowed, jagged teeth, and begins to kind of and stands up.
Nice Snow doesn't even hesitate. The four fingers, the four glowing bulbs on her hand coalesce into a single ball, and she just launches it, and it's like light tethers shooting forward in an eldritch blast.
Nice. So I don't have like a battle map for the streets of Barovia here, so we'll just use the
basic cobblestone should do. Some flat, like...
Well, this is just gonna be very immersion breaking.
No, my
There's
immersion.
like rainbow unicorn torches somehow.
You would think for a game like Curse of Strahd they'd have just like a basic cobblestone like
Yeah,
flat
for
thing.
sure. Like I uploaded some of my like own random maps, but I didn't upload one for this specific scenario because nobody's ever like explored the random buildings before. So I'll note that for the future.
Hey, I'm playing to a character that has no fucking clue about the world.
Exploration is one of the mainstays of D&D. Like all environments.
But for all intents and purposes, I'll just kind of create a little bit of a situation here.
Oh goodness, made my mind.
No, we're going real basic.
Oh yeah, we're going like white mat with grid lines. Basically.
The D&D modules on Roll20 are all really stingy with battle maps. Like really
Yeah,
stingy.
they are.
Like they're all just white. Like the one I just bought, it has a non-white battle map. It's beige.
Good to know when I do some Roll20 battle mats. I'll have to upload I'll have to upload a lot of background texture.
Yeah. I just didn't. I didn't prepare for inside Barovia encounters, which is just a DM failing. So -1 inspiration for the dungeon master or whatever. But
no, you get all
roll at disadvantage.
you get all the inspiration because you're the DM in the first place.
So
I did say I leapt backwards though.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it spills out the window and you leap backwards. So I'd like everyone to after Nice Snow, you launch a guiding bolt at the creature. I'd like everyone to select their token. Make sure you select your token and roll some initiative for me.
Nuru would be somewhere like off to the side, so he's like not hidden.
Like over here or something.
So he's like not really casting the light that Rick and Nice Snow have going on.
Oh, so you'd be like maybe back behind them.
Yeah, he's in the shadows.
Sure.
Like he would, like I think he moved to the side of the building once like Rick. I'm trying to figure out where he would have gone. Yeah. Oh, I accidentally rolled initiative twice. Cool, my internet sucks.
I'm not seeing a initiative bar.
Yeah, I rolled once.
I haven't put it up yet.
Okay, good to know. Yep.
I do like the Nat 2018 though.
Also, just for reference, it was not a guiding bolt; it was a Eldritch Blast.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I basically said that instead of the color being like traditional purple or something.
Yeah. No, I got you
light.
for sure. Yeah.
So let's
go
call it lavender.
Go ahead and Eldritch Blast.
I already did, I believe. It was a 10.
Oh, a 10 is a hit. Yeah.
All right. So with that, I also have the where is it? Pull back down here. I also took the Agonizing Blast invocation, so I had my modifier
Charisma,
to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is that's a 7.
Nice.
So
20. Yeah, 7 total.
Yeah, 7 total.
FYI, you can go in and modify the spell so it automatically adds charisma as well.
I'm gonna do that now.
So Nuru, you are up.
Cool. He's going to just sneak around the corner.
I'll add some windows to the building real quick, just so you guys can kind of get a better idea of the structure itself. So there's kind of a window here, a window here, a window here, a window here, a front door over here, and another window here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so he's gonna do like his best sneak up, or like around this corner.
I think if you have a negative to your dex modifier, it doesn't matter if you roll. You still get minus.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, Nuru. What's that? What are you gonna do?
Oh. Sneaking up around the corner. It's there.
Can you not move your token?
I think Frankie's internet's going.
Can you
What?
not? Can you not move your token, Frankie?
Oh, I forgot to move it. And let's see how long it takes this attack to roll.
If you need me to roll for you, I can.
Like, I already rolled it. It's gonna take a second. I might turn on the hotspot.
Sure.
Take me out.
Do you want me to roll an
Okay.
attack for you?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, never mind.
An 8 is a hit.
Wait. It is?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yep.
And
Armor
would this
class.
be sneak attack or no?
Because you're a swashbuckler, you would, because nobody else is engaged with this creature currently.
That's right. Solo engagements. Yep.
But
yep.
just like for the future, make sure that you just kind of learn the mechanics of your own character. Because I don't want to always be reminding you. Like, if you
no.
don't take your sneak attack when it should be appropriate, I won't remind you, like, after a couple more sessions, so...
Alright.
$13 total. Nice. So you dart around the side of the building, and as the creature is bringing itself up off of the ground, as it's spilled outside of the window, you run around the corner and jam your dagger right into a fleshy bit of its side. You see kind of like a gout of black blood spurt out onto your armor. And I believe you can disengage for free if you want when you hit a creature.
Yeah, he's gonna do that and dart back around the corner.
Ricky, you're up.
I'm going to do some talking. Oh God, what is that thing? That ain't right. You stink. You like really stink. You like stinky stink. I cast vicious mockery.
DC 13 Wisdom save, which he will most likely fail. And he takes 2 psychic damage, and he has a disadvantage on his next attack.
Yep. And I'm move over here.
All right. You begin to hear some more vicious battering against the boards of another window. They begin to creak and bend. But no boards come out. And Nuru, behind you as you dart around the corner on your side as well, you begin to hear someone from the inside of the building pounding and slamming against the boards of the window just beside you. And a couple of the boards fly out and spatter onto the ground at your feet, and a zombie begins to clamber through the window as you make your way back around the corner, and it takes a swipe at you with both of his hands. 19 to hit for 7 slashing. 16 to hit
16 also hits.
for 3 more slashing. So the creature kind of rakes both its bony claws down the front of your jerkin, and then as he grabs onto the bottoms of it, he like brings his face in towards your neck to try to bite you. But you manage to just kind of like lean your head back just out of range, and you feel like a bit of spit kind of fall and drip down the inside of your shirt from this snarling creature. And Nice Snow, you're up.
Nice Snow, upon seeing the undead, you hear her say, Orcus spawns. And she begins to start glowing. Her whole form starts to pick up there. And she's going to be using her cantrip based on her invocation, reskinned as Blessed Vigor, which gives her 1d4 plus 4 temporary hit points for the duration. And that's 6 temporary hit points to herself.
Okay.
And she'll remark back to Ricky that you must stand your ground and smite them wherever they are. And will proceed to take up ground right in front of him. And is preparing to get attack these things again.
Gotcha. The very first zombie that spilled out of the window will see if he can smell the blood now coming from just around the corner. But he does not, so he sees the two of you standing in the cobbled streets, and he begins to lumber towards you. Nice Snow, making a flurry of attacks with his claws, and then attempting to bite you. 20 for 2 piercing damage. Oh, that's a disadvantage, so 20 for 2 piercing. And then the other attacks are just normal attacks, so 12 is a miss, I'm sure.
Yep.
His second paw just kind of swipes, and you can feel like his bony fingers like kind of go through your silvery hair, and then another bite. 14 to hit.
Yep, that hits.
But he still draws you in with his first claw and bites right down onto your shoulder for a total of 6 damage.
And there goes my temporary hit points.
And Nuru, you're up again.
Nuru is just gonna hiss and stab at the zombie who bit him.
This is where Swashbuckler shines. 14 is a hit.
Alright. Let me see.
Sneak attack.
Yeah, I see.
You did what I was going.
17 total damage. Nice.
And then he's going to use his bonus action to disengage as well as his feline agility to double his speed.
Sure. You bring your dagger down over your head and just like cave in a portion of this zombie's skull, and as you draw your dagger out, your like whole fist is covered in like gooey zombie brain.
Yeah.
And then you begin to dart back towards your companions. Ricky, you're up.
I'm going to use Bardic Inspiration on Nice Snow. I say, this reminds me of the Great Battle of Clyde.
She looks back to you and is like, "Meh."
And then I'm going to use Distant Whispers on the stinky zombie and whisper in his ear, "You smell really bad. Go have a shower."
So what's would it be a 6 or a 10?
It's a spell attack. It's a nat 1.
Oh, so you miss.
Yeah.
You can actually
double check that though, just in case roll 20's written it in wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, play it as a miss.
So as you try to whisper into this undead creature's mind, you actually there's a flash. And you see this vision in your mind, and you see this very tall, slender, striking-looking figure sauntering towards you. He has this silky black hair that glides down over his shoulders, and he's dressed in this regal attire, and the edge of one of his lips kind of curls up, and you see a sharp, pearly white, jagged fang. And you take 5 psychic damage as this kind of momentary nightmare assaults your mind.
Just real quick, it is written in by roll 20. It isn't in that one. It's a spell save.
It's just a spell save, it's not a spell attack?
It's a spell save, yeah. I rewrote it. We'll use the damage for the first one if you want, but I fixed it.
Okay, so it's just a spell save, it's not a spell attack. Yeah. I didn't think that Dissonant Whispers was a spell attack.
Neither did I, but roll 20 is stupid. It also says strength save. So.
Alright, I gotcha. So the zombie will make its spell save. You might just take a little psychic damage anyways.
Sure.
Wisdom saving throw. Yeah, so he'll still take the 12. The zombie kind of crumples at Nice Nose feet, but you still have that like flash in your mind, and you take 2 psychic damage instead of 5.
Okay.
And you have this like momentary nightmarish vision of this creature, and you suddenly realize that maybe that the tales that you had read in the libraries of home might just be true.
Alright, cool.
You hear more pounding at one of the boarded up windows, and one of these zombies spills out into the cobbled streets and makes his way towards you, Nice No, clawing at you twice. 14 to hit and 20 to hit.
Yeah, both of those hit.
12 total, and then as he sinks his bony fingers into your flesh and tries to draw you in to bite, a 17 for 3 more piercing damage. So 15 total.
15 total? Okay. Breaking that. So that'd be... There we go.
And then another one of the creatures lumbers out from behind the building or the side of the building towards the party. And you are up again, Nice Snow.
Nice Snow's starting to feel like messed up from this. Goes, and points to the one and utters, "Go back to the grave, Hellspawn." And she will use judgment on the creature.
The one that's engaged with you currently?
The one that just hit me.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's a bonus action to cast judgment. It's basically just hex.
Okay, gotcha.
So the creature is hexed. And then right after that, she is going to use her spell. She's going to cast Shatter on the 2 of them. She's going. So let me just.
So is Judgment a cantrip, or Hex Hex a cantrip?
Hex is a level 1 spell slot.
So it's not a cantrip.
No.
Shatter's not a cantrip either.
Shatter's not a cantrip either.
Even if Hex is a bonus action spell, you can still only cast a cantrip after that.
Wait,
also,
really?
You might want to change the name because Judgment's a 5th level spell.
You can only cast a spell and a cantrip. You can't cast, even if a spell has a bonus action tag. After you cast a spell, you can only cast a cantrip. You can't cast another spell.
That is good knowledge that I did not know. Okay, yeah. So with that said, I will take away that judgment portion and just cast Shatter.
Okay, sure.
So, Shatter. And I am catching both of them.
Both of the creatures?
Yep.
Does it push them away or anything? Or is that Thunderwave? I believe that's Thunderwave. Yeah, okay. So con saves for both of them. Do they take half damage on a save?
Yeah, they take half damage on a
Okay,
save.
so 5 for one, and the full brunt for the other. You want to describe that spell?
Yeah.
As you cast it?
So you see Hemdriel bring out her fingers, and as she's bringing out her fingers, lights are up on each one of them. And as she pulls them forward, it seems like the air is breaking around her fingers as a distortion. And then as she moves it forward, all the light in the area gets distorted. And then you just hear a crackling snap as all of the sun pieces of their body start crinking in on each other.
Yep.
And cracking.
And the energy kind of ripples out, and you can see that on one of the creature, like a lot of its kind of hanging, decrepit flesh almost melts away, exposing quite a bit more bone on the creature, but it remains standing, and the other one still looks pretty, although undead, fairly healthy. And Nuru, you're up.
Nuru is just going to fire an arrow at this one. He's not going to really try to move from where he's standing. I'm not going to dart out or anything.
Okay. 25 is a hit for sure. 8 piercing damage. As the flesh of the creature kind of burns away from the light of Nice Snow's spell, an arrow flashes out past the two of you, Nice Snow and Ricky, and strikes the undead creature right between its eyes. Now that all the flesh is kind of burned away, its skull kind of shatters and explodes, and all the little bits of bone kind of fly out in little shards as the creature topples onto the cobblestone street. And Ricky, you're up.
Okay. Ricky is going to move up, draw his rapier, which he has never used, and attempt to stab.
Sure. 21 is a hit? Yeah. You kind of draw your rapier for maybe the first time ever. You can feel your arms kind of like shaking, and you lash out at the creature, and it sinks home like right in the belly of the wicked-looking undead monstrosity there in front of you. It kind of groans as your blade sinks deeply into it, and then it brings to bear its bony claws at you, swiping at you twice with them. 16 to hit and 13 to hit.
One hits, the first one hits.
So it kind of slashes down, scraping across your face, then grabs onto your collar and brings its head down towards you to try and bite. 14 to hit.
That's a die.
Miss.
Okay.
Is 14 a hit or a miss?
It's a tie.
Oh, a tie, so it's a hit. It's a hit, yeah. If it matches your armor class, it's a hit. So 7 total damage as it grabs your collar and pulls down and bites like a little bit of flesh off of your cheek. He essentially Mike Tyson's you. Nice Snow, you're up.
Nice Snow, seeing that he's getting bit, will like reach over and try to, despite herself. I closed my character sheet. Hold on 1 second. Character sheet, spells. Real quick, the one spell, the saving throw, is that technically a spell attack, or is that a saving throw spell? Like for the disadvantage rules on it.
What spell?
There's no disadvantage on the saving throw.
Sacred Flame.
Oh, so if they save, they take no damage, essentially. But it's not a spell attack, it's just a spell save, I believe.
Okay. So yeah, I'll basically do that. So the
I
light
assume
on...
because you're in melee, you don't want disadvantage on your attack. Sacred Flame.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. So nice to know her hand starts glowing and like a bright white / golden flame starts flickering in her fingers, and she like casts over onto the undead creature, trying to light it aflame. So Sacred Flame.
Yeah, it just needs to succeed on a dex save. Yeah, so 10.
Nope.
It's probably a fail, so it takes a
Yep.
1d8 radiant damage.
Okay, 1d8. So
You should be able to just click it from your attack list.
yeah, that's what I'm. Oh, from the attack list. Okay. Where is?
So Sacred Flame is a cantrip,
Yeah.
right? So you could hex, and then Sacred Flame.
Yeah. Oh wait, so I can cast 2 cantrips, but not.
Well, hex is not a cantrip; it's a spell, right?
Yeah.
But it has a bonus action tag, so you could bonus action Sacred Flame as your spell, and then you could bonus action Hex as your spell, and then you could Sacred Flame cantrip as an action.
Got it. Yeah.
Just for future personal reference.
Yeah. I would say that would happen. So we'll just say that when I last cast the thing on that other turn, it's applied for this one.
Well, you just swapped to Shatter, but just like for the future,
Yeah.
just try and remember. Yeah,
Noted.
I'll remind you guys of those kinds of like more technical mechanics, but like the personal mechanics of your characters, like try to become familiar or consistent with. But we'll work together. It's like not.
Yeah.
I'm never going to penalize you for not knowing, but eventually I'll stop reminding you.
Yeah, this is the first time I'm warlocking. So
unless you're like trying to use something that just doesn't work, and then I'll say you can't do that. Essentially,
Yeah, got it. So yeah, basically hexed onto the creature, and also
So essentially you can hex now. You can even give him disadvantage like on dex saves, and then Sacred Flame him. But he still failed his save. But I'll let you just hex him anyways if you want to blow that spell slot. That's totally cool.
Yeah. I will do that, and that's for the Sacred Flame radiant damage.
Another 1d6 for the hex.
Oh,
so 4 total.
4 rolls.
Tough rolls for sure.
Yeah.
Nuru, you're up.
Nuru is going to darts about here. He's going to stab that little dead boy. Roll. Please roll.
22 is a hit.
22?
Yep.
And he's going to use sneak attack.
Yep.
And then disengage once again.
13 total damage.
Flirting.
Man, my mental math is just fucking terrible right now.
If you click
Ricky,
on the token, you can type in -13 in the help slot, and it does it automatically.
oh, can you
If that's
really?
easier. Yeah, like -13.
Hold shift and double click on your token. It brings your sheet up for you.
Oh,
God,
that is a
Jason,
lifesaver.
Types of enemies.
Yes. That's going to save me so much time.
So here's another thing you can do. If you click on the macros tab, up on the top right-hand corner next to the cogwheel, and you just click on the little box that says Show Macro Quickbar. There's a little space on the bottom left corner of the screen under your portraits that'll show up, any attack or spell or skill check on your character sheet, you can drag and drop onto the quick bar and just click them from there.
Nice.
I'm going to viciously mock it, calling
Nice.
it incredibly ugly. Why are you so ugly? You're like ungodly ugly.
Yep. Wisdom saving throw for the hideous creature. And it fails, and it takes 3 psychic damage as it considers its current
Hideousness.
state of attractiveness, yes.
I used to be
That's
pretty.
my turn.
I will attempt this nice little -3 here. Oh, wow, that's great. The zombie, clutching its hollow eyes, focuses down on you after he rubs himself free of his mockery and begins to assault you with limbs and teeth, Ricky, for 6 slashing damage.
I'm going to cutting words the 6 slashing damage, saying, "No, you ugly."
Okay.
So, 4 damage.
4 damage. But then it lashes out at you with its gnawing teeth, and they sink into you for 2 more piercing damage. And Nice Know, you're up.
Well, same as the first time. Doing a sacred flame against it.
Nice.
So dexterity saving throw
Yep.
at disadvantage.
9.
9 does not do it. So I'll do the roll again. 1d8. Boop.
Nice.
Oh,
A burst of radiant flame sears up from the creature's feet out of the cobblestone streets. Just at the same very moment, a flashing strike of lightning arcs across the sky, and thunder rumbles out. And as the light flashes out and the flames consume the creature, you look down at a heap of black ash at your feet, and they are all dead.
He did.
may their souls make it to the heavens.
Naru's going to try to raid that body to get back his arrow.
Yeah, just roll a d20. If you get above a 10, you'll be able to retrieve it.
And when this happens, she goes over to Ricky, and she's going to use healing hands on him. And Ricky immediately regains three health points as she touches his shoulder.
Are those
And
your celestial dice?
Yeah. This is
It's a d6 per dice you spend, so you can roll it.
no. That's healing light.
He has
this
one
is-
from.
This is
Warlock and
directly.
one from his race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So if I say light, then that's the projectile one. If I say hands, that's me basically doing a lay on hands sort of deal.
I gotcha. You'll have to give me a after this session, send me a list of your spells and then what
Yeah.
you've kind of like renamed them to. So I'll just make like a little sticky note and put it up by my computer when we play.
I'll need to because a lot of the warlock stuff just seems too demonic
Yeah,
for what.
And
this
I'm
character
like,
does.
yeah, I'm totally cool with you like reskinning, your spells to like divine shit, but it'll make it easier for me to know what you're casting if I just have like a little notepad for myself of what you've like renamed everything to, just so it's like I don't have to ask you every time, moving forward. But I think we started around like 6:45, right? So we'll take our mid-session break here. We'll just take like a quick 5, and maybe after 3 hours, if you guys are still willing to play a little longer, depending on where we are, because I tend to like to end on a cliffhanger, so it's more fun for next week. But we'll see where we are at the 3-hour mark, and if you guys want to play a little longer tonight, then we can. But we'll take our mid-session break here either way. So just 5 minutes, get up, do what you got to do, and we'll come back for some more Curse of Strahd.
Yay.
Okay, yay.
Well done. Your first combat of the game. after three sessions.
Yeah. Oh man, we actually got pretty messed up.
Yeah.
I was actually worried. Like the reason I cast Shatter is because I realized that holy crap, we are gonna get decimated if I don't take one of these guys out now, because that multi attack is brutal.
It was that was a difficult encounter. That would probably be rated as a deadly encounter.
Yeah.
Now that we're on break, why was it a disadvantage for the saving throw?
Hex.
Hex is an ability check, not a saving throw.
You can.
gives
Oh,
disadvantage.
really? I thought
you pick an ability check.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Well,
I'll double
yeah,
check that.
yeah. I think you're right. Yeah.
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 I'm gonna double check it on here.
But we'll do a quick 5 here, and we'll come back in a few minutes.
Okay.
Wait, shit.
Ability checks made. Yeah. Not okay. But either way, so Ricky definitely got healed up for 3, and I'm gonna have to handle this.
Arrest.
Yeah. With a short rest, I can regain back a lot. So it's
Oh.
I still have like all but one of my spell slots.
so since I blew both my spells, if I get a short rest, we'll be in better shape.
And then we can use healing dice as well.
Yeah. Also, like, I had to weigh killing these things quickly or healing us, and because of how much damage they did, I was like, nah, I gotta kill these things. Oof.
What's up, Frankie?
Yeah. I gotta get better with these. For some reason, Sacred Flame is not on my quick my spell
Did
attack
you
bar.
put the spells in manually, or did you?
I click and drag them over from the classes.
Like just click drag it again and see if that fixes it, and then just delete the old one if it does. If not, then
See,
I'll-
cure wounds, guiding mold, chill touch, divine rebuke. Why? Okay, and crossbow. I should just change that to just rebuke, because that's. All right, I'm going to the bathroom. I'm back.
I did a dragon shit on my drawing tablet.
What was that?
I bearded dragon and took a shit on my drawing tablet.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they think of you earning money. No money.
Guys, I need this to get food for you. Alright, so yeah, I did have sneak attack down. I just didn't want to accidentally mess up.
It's very hard for you not to get sneak attack. The only way you can not get sneak attack is if someone's next to you and no one is next to the enemy.
Well, if you're more than 5 feet away and you don't have advantage, then you don't get sneak attack.
But then you also get sneak attack for a single enemy because of your swashbucklerness.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, swashbuckler if no one's within 5 feet of you.
Yeah,
You
if you're
the-
one-on-one as a swashbuckler, if you're one-on-one with a creature, you get your sneak attack, and if you hit, you can disengage as a free action.
No.
So
It says no. It says if you're within 5 feet, but if I'm not within 5 feet and I don't have advantage, it says I can't get sneak attack. At least
You
from
can't
what
do
I
it from
understand.
ranged, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant for
Yeah.
range. I know I can do it.
Yeah.
And then
Not from range, but if you're engaged in melee one-on-one with a creature, you get it. Otherwise, one of your allies has to be within 5 feet, and then you get your sneak from range.
I do. That's what?
sneak
Alright,
attack's
so
just
what-
terribly written the second that you go swashbuckler.
Yeah.
It's fine before that, but the second you go swashbuckler, it's just like
Yeah.
flip the table.
So conditions where Nuru gets sneak attack is
That's
in
a nice
melee.
warhead.
In melee, 1v1 a creature with no other allies nearby. In melee with a creature with an ally within 5 feet, or at ranged with an ally within 5 feet of the creature that you're firing at. Those are the conditions, or if you have an advantage on an attack for whatever reason. So those are the 4 conditions to give Nuru sneak attack dice.
Ryan, look at your camera.
Oh.
Hi.
Thank you. I've gone whole sessions with it pointed at the ceiling and nobody telling me different. So
I can't see your camera, so.
yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why you guys aren't popping up for me either. It's frustrating, but it's all good. Normally, you guys are both working for me.
It's just a
Wait,
shit leader.
so I should have gotten sneak attack during that first attack.
You did the very first attack of the whole combat.
Yeah, but I
yeah,
didn't have any allies within.
But you were solo.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, right. Never mind.
The one time you wouldn't have got sneak attack was when I moved into melee range, so that you could have gotten sneak attack. Because if I stayed next to you and you shot an arrow, you would have lost your sneak attack. It's stupid. The only way you cannot sneak attack is if you are ranged and no one is next to the enemy.
Yeah.
Oh,
And someone is next to you. It's very hard for you not to sneak attack.
alright. Cool.
Are we currently recording, or is this out of recording?
No, I'm recording still.
Okay.
Usually, when I have break, I stop my local recording for the video that I post to YouTube, but I forgot to do that.
Got it.
But I mean, it's not a huge deal. Like, I tend to just record the sessions all the way through and post them. You know, I don't
Got
put
it.
a lot. Yeah, I don't put a lot of energy into like
Got it.
editing and stuff like that. I might.
Okay.
I might in the future, but you know, nobody ever says
Good.
anything that's like ridiculous. So.
I don't know.
Okay, must be on your
So,
videos.
so since we're recording, the judgment thing that I was using to replace the name Hex, should I just keep the name Hex, or like, does anybody have a better name that I
You
can
can
change
honestly just add divine onto the front of all the
it
spells.
to? I've already done that for too many things. I'm trying not to be. I'm trying not to be generic.
Retribution.
That's already that's a rebuke thing.
It's that all the one
I
word
mean,
names
you
for
could
things are
you
already
could like literally call it Halo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that.
No,
Yeah.
There's
We'll
a
call
one
that,
that one immediately springs to my mind is the Xbox game, not like the angelic
Right.
Halo.
Yeah. Yeah.
what about reckoning?
There we go. We'll call it Haloed. You just got Haloed.
Yeah.
I
That's,
hate this. I would like to strongly oppose on the stance that Halo's a game.
Halo is
no.
Okay.
Yeah. But Haloed is like, because
I'm kidding.
yeah, okay, yeah. I'm not very good with that. But either way, I also, now that I'm thinking about that,
You could
actually
even
is
call
really
or like Heavenly Mark.
no. Haloed is nice.
Yeah.
Like because
Nice.
there's even a very beautiful imagery I'm getting with that now. So
Yeah,
Okay.
and you know, like kind of like like a halo, like a divine halo appears over them, and it almost makes you jealous. You know, you can cast a spell that makes somebody more divine looking than you are.
but also if you've ever played like tabletop D&D, they often use those little rings to symbolize
like
status effects.
the little rings.
So it's even
that-
better that's called Halo because it's literally the circle
Yeah.
going on. Okay, like I like that. I like that a lot.
Well, as this little dark pile of ash lies at your feet, and these other two undead corpses lie on the cobblestone streets around you, a little black crow flutters down through the mist and the rain and begins to peck at one of the eyes of the creatures that you killed. It like rips one of its eyes out of its socket, flicks it up in the air, and opens its little black beak, and the eye goes down its throat. You can see the little bulge as it swallows, and then it looks up at the three of you momentarily, almost like in an appraising way, and then flies off.
And Nice Snow looks at the Tabaxi and goes, question, do you eat those? No response, or?
Are you referring to the body or the bird?
The bird.
You're asking Nuru, though, right?
Yeah, Nuru.
Yeah.
We can't hear you, Nuru.
Big boy, are you with us? Do you need CPR? Should we call someone?
Clear!
Silent
I
break.
Okay.
Life alert.
Also, Ricky, did you count the regain 3 health?
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Here, let me fix my audio settings real quick, apparently.
And meanwhile, how does everyone look in terms of health?
That's meta.
Thank you. Thank you for catching me on that.
But if they are, you can ask them in a different way. You can ask them a different way in character. Yes.
Thank you. Could I make a perception check in order to see what their health stats are?
Absolutely. Yeah, that is much better. Yes.
Okay. Nope.
Well,
Fine.
they definitely, you can see pretty easily, like, some blood dripping off of Ricky's face, and you can definitely see, like, the blood soaking through on Naru's shoulder through her clothing, and you can even probably see a little bit, like, on her exposed fur. It's now come dark and matted, so you can definitely see that they've taken some injury. Like a 5 is enough to discern that they've definitely been torn up a little bit by the zombies, and that's the difference between a DM that's harassing one little bird character between one that's has your best interest at heart.
Yeah.
Perhaps we should take a rest. Perhaps we should take a break for a moment.
Yeah.
Nuru is going to actually suggest they find somewhere that doesn't
point at the house.
smell like death.
Before that happens, Nice Snow goes over to your shoulder, Nuru, and her hand starts glowing as it goes to your shoulder. And I'm going to roll, and this is Healing Light. I'm going to use 2D, or I'll use 1D6 for now. And you heal up that much. Boop. Oh,
I just knew it was going to be a lot. I just knew it.
So I think, you can only use, half your dice rounded down per time. So right now, at level 3, you can only use 1 per... At level 4, then you can bump it up to 2 per cast or whatever. I might be wrong about that.
No. It's based on my charisma modifier, so I can use up to 3 in one go.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it says the maximum number of dice you can spend at once equals your charisma modifier.
Oh, nice. Oh,
and
cool.
Yeah,
Nuru,
so
he looks a little bit confused.
Yeah.
Not much.
Yeah, I'm pumping another D6 into that.
Oh, you guys just popped up for me on your cams. Awesome.
Yay! Okay, so in total, Nuru heals up 3 health points.
Nice.
Thank you.
A little 3 HP there for you each.
So though it doesn't probably clear up the entire wound, you definitely feel the light healing and making the area feel better, like Novocaine or some form of
the bleeding on some both of your wounds definitely slows and then eventually stops, and you're still kind of the blood, especially in Nuru, it kind of, you still got these patchy bits of dark, dried blood in your fur, and Ricky's cheeks a little swollen, and but yeah, that was your first. Nuru, you look around at the other houses around you, and you maybe think twice about inspecting the rest of the 5 or whatever. And
To be fair, it wasn't Naru's fault.
Yeah, and Nice Snow
To be
knows.
fair, you said there was a person.
And Nice Snow remarks, this was a teaching experience for you, Ricky, and also for you, that sometimes the dark things lurk in the shadows, and it's best to be prepared for them. I knew what it was, but this is a lesson learned.
So
And,
it's your fault.
And,
You knew what it was.
You guys can
And
make
she-
some perception checks for me.
yeah,
But
and she
continue,
no-
yeah.
Yeah, and she nods, and as she did get hit, and she's pretty banged up. You see the light glowing on her wounds, and that 7 was her using her the Blessed Vigor cantrip thing again.
Sure.
So she has 7 temporary hit points again.
How long does that last? Like an hour?
Yeah, it lasts it lasts an
Doesn't
hour.
say it lasts till long rest.
But since it's a cantrip, she can basically just keep it up. It varies.
Yep.
I'll keep track of it. Just let me know when we've gone past an hour or such.
Sure.
And perception check.
So after you guys have this skirmish in the cobbled streets of this little village, you look around kind of paranoid. There are still several dark buildings around you, and you gaze up to the one with the light in the window. You can kind of see some shadows moving about in the upper floor of this building here on the corner of the boulevard where the two cobbled streets intersect. Nice snow. You can hear like a solid rapping on wood, like someone knocking on the door off in this direction, echoing through the hollowed streets of this small town.
Does it sound roughly like what just happened when the creatures knocked on the door?
No, it sounds a little more measured, not quite so violent, like someone's knocking on wood, essentially. More of like, when someone's calling. But there's a thin mist that kind of hangs low around your ankles in the streets, maybe more around your knees, Ricky. And what do you guys do?
Nice Snow remarked a sound that's further down that way, and she's like, "Do you wish to investigate that knocking sound, or do we want to take shelter?"
I point at the house that the zombies just got out. We could rest in there for a bit.
Nuru will agree with Ricky. I could climb up to that window to see what's going on if you would wish.
Then you're disagreeing with Ricky.
No,
No.
she's saying that she wants to investigate before we enter.
Okay.
Yeah, he would.
Thank you.
It's alright. Because he has like a climbing speed of 20 feet, so he could like climb up to the.
Oh,
second
very
story.
easily, yeah. Oh, well, that building that the zombies came out of was a one-story home. So you could very easily
No, I'm
just...
talking-
Oh, the building with the lights in it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. There's a, so on one side of the building, there's kind of an archway, and below the arch is like a side door. And then above the arch, there's kind of a softly glowing a warm light coming out through a window above it, and it has kind of a gray curtain that's drawn, but it's kind of translucent, and you could definitely scale the wooden pillar up to the arch above and peer into the window if you wanted to, for sure.
Before he climbs up, though, he's going to hiss to the others, "Act like you're afraid."
What do you mean, act?
He's going to make his eyes go very wide and his demeanor like hunched in. Like very much playing up the effect.
I think Ricky's insinuating that he is afraid.
Oh.
And Nice Snow gives a curious look and just like shrugs.
So as you claw into this pillar, Nuru, and swing yourself up over the lip of the little pointed arch above the door below, you bring yourself ever so slightly up to peer into the lightened room on the second story of this building, and the curtain is translucent. There's a little bit of a sliver between the two curtains that pull in on either side of the rail that's holding the rings of the curtain above, and you can make a perception check with advantage as you peer into the lightened room.
Oh, right. Again.
So you kind of close one eye and look between the little space of the curtains, and you can see maybe 3 little children, maybe between the ages of 4 and 7, all huddled around kind of a faded brown couch, and sitting on the couch is 2 adult, a male and a female looking humanoid people. There's all 5 of them, their skin is kind of dour and pale, and they're almost kind of devoid of any real color. All their clothing is kind of dull earthen toned, and their eyes are all sort of hollow and fearful, and there's candlelight flickering on the end tables on either side of the couch, and above the little couch that the adults are sitting on, it's kind of like a little love seat. There's a wooden holy symbol that looks like a half sun, and they're all kind of quietly huddled together, eating out of little wooden bowls, what looks like a porridge or something.
Nice Snow.
Mm-hmm.
No.
No.
Well, nice Snow's on the ground, like.
I was trying out the macro, but yeah, but for some reason it like activated the spell. I'm not fluent with this macro. I'll have to learn it off game. Continue.
Anyway, Nuru is going to take a second to school his expressions into a sort of terrified, but maybe it's sort of like a Puss in Boots situation, where he makes himself look very appealing, non-threatening.
Uh-huh.
He's nervous, as though he needs help. He's not there to harm them.
Sure.
He's going to take a second to make sure that he's hopefully displaying something of that sort, and he's going to situate. Is there a balcony that he can stand on?
Yeah, you're kind of standing on this like arched rooftop. There's like a over the it's almost kind of like a little pointed balcony that's covering like the little side door of the home below. So you can stand up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's gonna do that, and he's gonna like knock on the side of the window. It's like, help us, please. We need help.
So as soon as you tap on the window, all three of the little children kind of shriek and cover their arms over their heads, and the woman crouches down and covers all three of the children, and the man kind of puffs out his chest and looks down at the three children and his wife, all cowering, and tries to put a brave look on his face, but you can see his hands trembling as he sets down his bowl on the little stand next to the couch that they were sitting on, and he continues to kind of shake as he moves towards the window, and he parts the curtains, and a look of just sheer fright comes over his face, and you can see his pale face even goes a shade wider as he sees you there at the window, and he sees the ends of your little cat fangs, and he says, "Off, vampire! You are not invited into our home!" And he runs back towards the wall, to the little wooden symbol above the couch, and he grabs it, and he runs back to the window and holds it up in front of him towards you, and he says, "Off! Off with you, beast!"
I am no vampire. We just fought. My friends and I were just attacked. We are gravely injured. I mean you no harm. Please.
Make a persuasion check with disadvantage. Oh.
The Puss Boots always wins.
He kind of lowers the wooden sun symbol a little bit, and he brings his face a little closer to the window, and he says, "Show me your teeth."
Nuru bares his fang, or like he pulls his lips back and opens his mouth so the man can see.
He says, "I have never seen a creature quite like you. Do you serve him? Do you serve Strahd?"
No, we do not.
He looks back at his family, and you can see the woman, like, violently shaking her head no. And he says, "Go downstairs. I will let you in."
Nuru nods, and his eyes are like still like wide and wavering.
And you can see there are, like, big nails that have been hammered into the windowsill, like, so he can't even open that window that you are peering into.
Question: Nuru is on the top floor, second floor.
Yeah, he's up on the second story.
Okay, so Nice Snow is down by the door currently. So just.
Naru's gonna like climb back down, and he's going to tell the two of them, "Look pathetic."
Ricky's kicking a pebble. That's what he's been doing this whole time, just like chasing a pebble around the street, kicking it.
You hear like a hollowed.
Nice Snow's deadpan.
You hear like a hollowed, echoed sound of the man coming down a set of stairs in the inside of the house. Each footstep, you can hear the creaks of the old wood beneath his feet, and then you hear you hear him approach on the old wooden floors, and you hear a key turn in the door, and slowly it opens inward towards him, and you can just barely see the shadow of his face as the interior of the house is totally dark, and he says, "Come quickly."
Nuru will rush inside.
Nice Snow will gently walk inside.
Has Ricky noticed?
Make a perception check.
No, you can stay outside with the zombies.
No one's
as
told him.
as Nuru and Nice Snow glide into the home, he shuts and turns the key and locks the door, and he says, "It is not safe out in the streets."
That Nice Snow will, like, upon hearing that, remember about Ricky, turn back around, and will say, "Can you open the door for our third companion?"
He says, "I only
The
saw the."
will pull up.
Go ahead.
Like Renew will pike up. He's only a halfling. We fear for him.
He says, "Agents of Strahd can take any form. I am taking a great risk allowing just the two of you into my home. How can I believe you?"
I'm going to make a perception check to see if I can hear them.
You're like out in the street kicking a stone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if
but
I hear them talking.
make a perception check with disadvantage.
It's irrelevant, but sure.
Nuru will with this man. Is it? Please, you have to understand. He is naive and new to the horrors of this world. He doesn't
Why was he not
understand.
with you when I let you inside?
I
He
don't
was
know.
out there kicking a stone. Please, may you open the door?
Um,
I would like to have a persuasion roll against
Yeah,
for him.
you can make a persuasion with advantage.
What?
An 8 is
What?
terrible. He says, "I am risking
Okay.
enough letting the two of you into my house.
Please, he is a simple fool.
I'm sorry, but your friend must suffer the consequences of not being with you when I let you in.
Let
I
me
will-
know if
I
I'm
will-
ever
I
allowed
will-
to make another
I-
perception for sound.
I will not open my door again. The two of you may stay for the night."
Can I offer you a proposal? If my friend proves to be a fraud, I will let you take my own life. I will let you kick me out. Do as you wish. Just please. Let me grab him.
Do you take me for a murderer? No. I will give you shelter. But I'm sorry, your friend is on his own.
Then, if you do not give him shelter, then what if he dies? What does... Please, sir.
Then he will be lucky, because death is the only true release from this world.
Death is not the end. And Nice Snow, like, deadpan stares him down, and now she's like saying, "If you die, having committed a sin, there's no good afterlife." And she's just going to start looming over him, and this is going to be an intimidation, essentially. And
Okay.
she's going to use thaumaturgy to make the ground start trembling as she's looming over top of him, and says, "Death will not be the end. Your soul goes somewhere."
He now believes
You
you're a
will.
vampire.
Yeah.
LaRue is going to go up to her, like, and, like, just sort of, like, reach out, pat her on the back, but his claws are, like, out, and he's just gonna, like, just give her a light, gentle, like, cat scratch, like, what the fuck are you doing?
And she says, continuing, despite that, she goes, "If you commit this murder, there's no good afterlife for that. Better to live in fear than to die and go into a terrible place." And I would like to roll an intimidation.
Yeah, roll an intimidation check.
What?
Let me know if at any
Wow.
point I can have a chance at hearing again.
Well, you probably the thaumaturgy does shake the floor like that's
yeah,
the...
you can make another.
But it's
You can make
really
another.
entertaining roll.
You can make another perception check. But the man says, "No, I have risked too much already, and
And
now I
with
do
that
not.
said-
I cannot trust either of you. I know you are Strahd's spies. Get out! Get out of my house!"
And Nice Snow will bow and say, "May you live in a long life." And she will proceed to exit.
He turns the key in the door and opens it again, and he puffs out his chest and like gestures for you to leave.
Nuru will act very meek and verbose as he walks through the door. He'll turn back and give the man one last large, wide-eyed stare.
Are you trying to be like let back inside?
Mm-hmm.
How does one roll patheticness?
I believe it's deception.
I mean, I would say make another persuasion check. He says, "You can seek shelter here, but your friends must go. You're the only one that seems honest and true amongst your party."
To think all of this would have been fine if you said, "Ricky, come."
For reference, Nysa was dead serious. She was not lying.
The thing is, like, Nuru did come down and talk to both of them.
I mean, I heard that Ricky was like kicking stones in the street, like.
Oh, yeah. Never mind.
Nice Snow is going to find Ricky now.
What do you do, Nuru? Do you go inside or do you follow Nice Snow back out into the street?
Nuru hangs his head. I have an honor to these people, and I will not abandon them. But I thank you for your kindness.
May the morning
May we
lord
be
guide you,
preserved.
little strange person.
Tabaxi. Or if you meet another of my kind.
My family and I will pray for you.
And
he shuts the door before you are able to respond, and you hear the key turn in the lock.
Nuru will Naru's gonna hunt down Ricky.
So while Nice Snow is going up, Ricky's just out in the middle of the street. He's easy enough to find, correct?
Yeah, you like come out from the side of the house, and you like look to the left and the right, and to your
Nice Snow will go up to Ricky.
to your left, you see Ricky like kicking a cobblestone a few, like 20 feet away, where the other house was, where the zombies were. You know.
Yeah, Nice Snow's gonna go over and pat Ricky on the shoulder and say, "Next time, stay close," and then just walk past him.
Nuru is going to stalk up to Ricky and like attempt to grab him by the shoulders, his claws very much out, and attempting to dig in.
Dodge.
Roll roll and make an attack roll for me.
Oh, he's not like trying to attack, but okay.
So Ricky, out of the shadows.
Acrobatics check?
Yeah, you can make an acrobatics check. I'd say like, make a stealth check for me, Frankie. And what's your passive perception, Ricky?
10. That's why I'm not perceiving anything.
Okay, gotcha.
No.
So, out of the shadows, Nuru pops out and digs some claws into you. You take 1d4 plus your strength modifier damage, Nuru. 0 slashing damage. So a set of claws digs into you.
So I guess you got exactly what you
Oh,
wanted.
-1. What you roll the 1 -1 strength modifier. That's awesome. But you
that's
definitely
beautiful.
feel some claws sink down into your skin, Ricky. And
And the Rue hisses down at him. You fool! We could have had shelter.
Shelter? Where?
What?
Shelter? Where?
He's just. He looks around and points at the house that was behind him.
I walk up to the house.
you see a 2-story home with the bottom level, mostly windows boarded or barred. You see a little, what used to be maybe a little garden out front, but all the plants and flowers have been stomped into the earth.
I assume I see the door and it's not barred up.
There's a door on the side of the house that's not barred up, but there's a door on the front. The door on the front of the house has been boarded over, and you look. Make a perception check. Make a perception check for me. And you see light up on the second level of the house where the door that's not board or barred is as well.
Nuru said shelter, so I'm going to try and open the door.
Locked.
I use the knock spell.
Oh no!
You hear a mechanism in the door click, and the door actually creaks as it slides open about 2 inches.
I said, come on, guys.
What are you doing?
The door groans.
It's shelter.
Come on.
Make another perception check for me, Ricky.
I love how badly things are always right.
You don't hear anything, but from the street, Nice No and Frankie, or Nice No and Nuru, you see the lights on the second level. The candlelight gets snuffed out, and the second lights on the second level go dark.
Weird. Hello?
Nuru
As
is-
Ricky calls out and your voice kind of echoes out in the empty first level of the home, you step in and you can see a small, dilapidated little kitchen. As you step in, there's like a little dining table off in one corner of the room with 2 kind of like larger chairs and then like a smaller little side table next to that with 3 little chairs next to it. You see kind of like what looks like maybe a small ice box or something, and there seems to be like a countertop with a little stone basin that you can kind of catch the gleam of water on top. And as you look to your right, you can see a long dark hall, and you can just barely make out like the banister of a stairway heading upstairs. Yeah.
The light spell was active.
And there's a door frame between kind of the countertop and the little room that you step into and the tables, and beyond that you can see another door that probably leads back outside of the home. As you step in and your voice echoes out through the lowered level of this house, the dungeon master is going to go just refill his beer really quickly. So BRB.
Oh,
Claire, one
Beer.
What?
beer
you,
run.
You literally
cliffhanger.
did not tell him anything. He's like, the shelter, cool, where? You point, that's all you've done. You haven't said anything.
What's funny about this now is Nice No is now in the predicament that Ricky was, where she's looking around, not paying attention, and Ricky has entered the building. So Nice No should.
When did the parent?
My plan is, like, now that I've said hello, to turn around and say, you two coming.
No, the thing is, Ricky didn't even give Nuru a chance. Nuru pointed and said, "Cat building," and like Ricky just walked off. And like,
Yeah, you said shelter. Shelter's important.
I'm loving it.
oh, this is amazing.
I'm loving how bad my perception rolls are.
No,
Like,
no,
how many
no.
bad ones said in a row.
It's so good though because Nuru tries the whole pity ploy. Nice No goes for the whole doom and gloom. And then Ricky just does the whole barge in. Oh, this is just my house now.
I didn't barge in, I knocked.
Naru's gonna,
Nice.
Naru's gonna go after Nice No next, honestly.
Ricky
it's
turns
so good.
around and says, you two coming.
Nice No hears that and turns around and goes. She doesn't quite know what to think at this point. She looks at the door and she goes, "Didn't he lock that?"
As you cast light, Ricky,
I
And
wouldn't
you
even cast
look
it.
down the dark hall near the banister of the stairs. You can hear a soft set of footsteps creaking above, and it sounds like they stop at the top of the stairs, and you hear a man's voice call out kind of shakily, and he says, "Well, you are not a vampire, but you still may be one of Strahd's spies.
What's a Strahd?
Why have you come to my home? And why are you terrifying my family?"
I don't mean to terrify your family. I was told there is shelter here. What's a Strahd?
The brew is just like mentally fine.
There's a beat of silence, and you can feel the air kind of grow heavy around you, Ricky, as this person at the top of the stairs considers what he's going to say next, and he says,
Can I see him?
"No,
Okay.
your light kind of pours down this narrow hall, and you can see the banister to the left, on the left side of the hall, and you can see there's a door at the end of the hall on the right that probably opens up into another room, and then at the end of the hall, before you would take a left to go up the stairs, there's a window at the far end of the hall, and your light kind of reflects back at you off of the window, and you can almost kind of see your own reflection in the window at the end of the hall, and the voice says, "Typical Strahd spy trick. You know who Strahd is, and I know you know. Please, just
Like
leave."
Strahd's a person? I mean, I'll leave if you wish, but I was told there is shelter here.
Leave!
Okay, you might want to come lock your door. I'll leave.
And there's silence.
I close the door after me, but it's unlocked. What a rude man.
The Rue is very quietly banging his head on the side of his house.
Take 1d8 damage.
You don't
Nice
control me.
Nice Nose just watching this and is just perplexed. She's not one in her head, the other like invading homes. Just
As you're walking away, or as Nuru, as you're banging your head on the side of the house, you hear like a very clunky set of heavy footsteps come down crash down the stairs in the interior of the home, run down the hallway, and then you hear a click as the door locks again. And then you hear the set of footsteps rush back down the hall and clunk up the stairs, and then silence.
Like as soon as there's silence again, Naru's going to whip around and like just stalk up to Nice No. What were you thinking? He's just gonna look to Ricky too. It's like the both of you. We could have.
Yeah, but that guy was really rude.
So what do you guys
So,
do?
what's a Strahd?
What are you guys passive perceptions? Actually, I'm gonna go
10.
grab a little notepad
I
real
believe
quick.
mine is 13, I believe. Yeah,
I'm just gonna
13.
type it out.
Nice. No, you have a 13 passive perception.
Yeah.
What about Nuru?
How does Nuru have a 14?
14.
He's probably proficient in perception.
Plus 14
I
wisdom.
am
maybe
too.
Expertise. Maybe expertise.
Wouldn't expertise give you 15 then?
It would
It
double.
doubles, so-
It would
Oh.
like double your current proficiency bonus, so it'd give a +1.
But the proficiency bonus is +2 at this age.
Yeah, so
Here's
it
an
would.
easier question. Naru, what's your wisdom? Frankie, what's your character's wisdom?
Oh, 11.
So it's expertise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have expertise with it.
Okay. Yeah, I could wait.
Ricky, what's your passive perception?
10, but you can count it as 0.
But your passive perception is
Wait.
10.
Yeah.
Can you have expertise on something you're not proficient in?
No.
No.
Okay,
But
just
proficiency would add +2, and then expertise would add another +2.
It would add half your proficiency bonus, I believe.
No, it doubles your proficiency. Half is
Oh,
Oh,
against
does
rates.
it? Oh, okay, I gotcha. Nice.
yeah.
Wait, would that be higher then?
Not if
No,
your
I
wisdom's
don't think so. Not if your
11.
wisdom's 11. Yeah, it would just be if you're proficient in
14.
perception. Then if you weren't proficient in perception and you didn't have expertise, you would have a 10 passive perception like Ricky. So essentially, expertise gives you a 12, or proficiency gives you a 12, and then expertise gives you a 14. So that's why you have a 14 passive perception.
Like, my perception is a -1, and it's turned to 0. because of,
But for the
temporal
first
growth.
time, Nuru, you also hear up in this direction, like the knocking on wood, but more of like somebody's calling, and it's kind of just echoing down from that direction through the streets, like someone's knocking on doors that way, and you can make an actual perception check for me as well as you hear like the knocking of the door.
Sure. Wait.
Such a fun exchange that was.
I've never had. Well, I've only outrun Curse of Strahd, I guess, one other time, but like nobody ever fucked with any of the other houses in the town, so that was pretty fun for me.
We are so woefully ignorant.
Mhm.
Besides Nuru.
Wait, what did you say?
Me and Ricky are woefully ignorant. You are not. So,
I mean,
well,
your character shouldn't be ignorant of the world if your wisdom is high. Because you've got, like, at least 12 wisdom, right?
like I have a +1, and
Yeah.
I'm not.
Ricky has -1 on wisdom. He's got an 8 in wisdom. That's why he knows the world and is a bit of an idiot.
Yeah,
He's got good
Let's-
book learning, but that's about it.
Nice Nose wisdom is in a different area.
Yeah, 12's like above. I mean, 12's a little above average, but it's like definitely not. This is kind of a whole different world.
Yeah.
It's a world outside of a world outside of a world.
Yeah, exactly.
For Nice No, yeah, like I understand where Nice No is coming from the perspective of his character. So,
And for Nuru, like this is kind of what this is big. It's
I imagine
similar
Naru's
to-
just got like, yeah, Naru's gone into just straight up survival mode, essentially, like, which you're portraying very well. Like, I would have given you
Yeah.
another inspiration already if you didn't have one, but roll a straight perception check for me though.
I was expecting to get a persuasion check with the guy inside, and I was going to use my inspiration on that, but I didn't get one.
Well, I mean,
He was too far gone.
yeah, too far, yeah. I mean, under the circumstances.
Oh, yeah. Ricky's innocent, though. He did nothing wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
He was lost.
But that family had been exasperated beyond.
Yes.
So you kind of hear this like knocking sound echo down through the streets to the north of you guys, Nuru, and you actually hear like the creak of a door after a few beats, and you can hear like the light whispers of people talking, and you kind of hear an old raspy voice, and you kind of peer around the corner of the home that you guys just tried to gain entrance to, and up the street a few houses down, Nuru, you can see an old woman kind of hunchbacked and slouched over, pushing a wooden cart up through the street. And she's made her way up to the steps of one of the homes and knocked. And you see that somebody's answered, and she hands a piece of. She like hands up a piece of cloth, essentially, and it looks like there's something wrapped up in the cloth. And you see the man inside hand over a couple of gold coins, and after they make the exchange, the door slams shut pretty hard, and the old woman hobbles down the steps to her cart and begins to push it farther up the street, to the next house.
Nuru, he's going to first gather Nice Snow and Ricky, so he can guarantee that they will both hear him.
You have
He's
Ricky's
very
attention.
short.
You have Ricky's attention.
All right. Listen, there's an old woman out there pushing a cart along, and she's knocking on doors, and they are answering. It appears she is selling something. I do not know what. However, if we play this right, we might be able to get the help of some of these people. For the love of God, do not try to scare them, and please do not break party. We stick together. We are weary. We are scared. We have just defeated something that has obviously been attacking this town. We will, please, for the love of all that is good.
Okay, but I did try knocking. But okay, I'll go with it.
Thank you.
So you make your way up the street towards the woman,
Mm-hmm.
taking up the lead with Nice Snow and Ricky behind you.
He's going to put a hand on like one of his wounds to show that he has obviously been hurt.
Okay, sure.
I'm going to use Nuru as cover and just be stealthed.
Okay, you can make a stealth check.
Nope. Fuck it, inspiration. I'm using DM inspiration. Yep.
Nuru is going to suggest that they try not to make themselves unknown, that they be upfront about confronting these people.
Just one old woman.
Or even so, like, try not to startle her.
Put it this way, if you're in front of me, I'm stealthed anyway, to an extent.
So as you guys make your way up the street, a few houses down, up to about here, you see the old woman kind of set her cart down. You know, there's one big wheel on the front. It's kind of like a makeshift wheelbarrow, but she's got kind of a, it looks almost like a, like, you know, kind of like a shopping cart. Like there's like a basket on the front, and there's like a little lip as well, and you can see there are little bundles as you approach, like on the front of the cart, that are all wrapped up individually, and as you approach behind her, she doesn't seem to notice, and she's kind of like situating her cart off to the side of the road, getting ready to go up, and she pulls a couple of the little bundles out of the front of the cart and holds them like kind of cradled in one of her arms, and she begins to make her way up to a porch of the next house. She doesn't seem to really notice you guys approach. Do you like say anything? Try and draw her attention?
Yeah, making sure that like there's still like a good amount of distance away, so like they're not right next to her. Naru's going to call like in a slightly like wobbly voice, or wobbly, borderline fearful voice. Ma'am?
Ugh. She looks a little startled. You can see she's kind of hunched over, and she has like a kind of, you know, it looks almost like it's been kind of eaten by moths. Like she has a very thin shawl draped around her head and neck, and she turns around, kind of hobbles towards you, and you know, her face is very wrinkled, and her eyes are kind of sunken, and she has these two little bundles of something tucked in her arm, and She says, "Oh dear, I didn't see you standing there behind me. Have you come to buy a pastry?"
I, I did not realize that that is what you were selling. My friends and I, we've just entered this town and we've been attacked by some decrepit creatures. We've been hurt. We don't have anywhere to go.
She says, "Oh, well, if you make your way towards the center of town, there's an inn, and there's a provisionary shop. I'm an old woman, and I earn my living by selling pastries to the people of Barovia. Um, you can buy
Hungry.
Well, they're 1 gold apiece."
Nice.
I will buy 3.
Nice to know while this transaction's going on is getting a creepy vibe from this woman, because so far as she's seen, nobody's been out on the streets, and they just fought a bunch of undead in the houses. Yet this woman's going around with some pastries. She feels something's off. So insight check on this old lady.
Yeah, you can make an insight check on her.
In the room. It's awesome.
Man, I love how completely. Oh, it's so good. So good.
You know,
Yeah.
it seems like she's being very genuine. You know, like you can now see like there are on the little bundles that she has are very definitely like pastry sized. They seem very well wrapped or covered individually, and there's plenty more on the little ridge of her cart, and she had a couple tucked under her arm, but she kind of shuffles back to her little wooden cart, and and she gets another one out of the little lip, and she hands the bundle of 3 little wrapped pastries to Nuru, and holds her little wrinkled hand out. You know, there's like a kind of translucent sleeves draping down both of her arms, and as she holds her dark wrinkled hand out for the gold, she says, "They'll just be 3 gold. We made them just today. They're very delicious."
They smell delicious. Here is your.
And they
money.
do. They smell very delicious. Like you can get this very strong, like sweet pastry smell coming out from the cart and the little wrapped bundles that she's just handed to you, and they feel actually warm through the cloth and everything, like they've been freshly made.
Nuru takes care to put them in his backpack and is like being gentle as though these are precious to him.
Uh-huh.
Thank you. I will keep these safe.
Yes.
And you said the inn was near.
If you go back down the road and head west towards the center of town, it's hard to miss. The provisionary and the inn are just right next to each other, kind of kitty corner on the street, and you could find a place to rest there.
Thank you. Please, be safe. We are new to this town, but it has not been kind.
Well, I'm just an old woman selling my pastries, but I know that this place can be very unkind. I'm lucky that I don't have much life left in me, otherwise I fear that I might befall a grim fate, but do take care of yourselves, and I do hope that you like my pastries. I put a great care into baking them.
Upon hearing her re-emphasize, "I don't have much life in me," and then remembering those undead, she gets even more suspicious.
Nuru is going to ask, but before we leave, may I have your name? You've done us a great kindness, and I would greatly like to know who you are if we were to meet again.
My name is Ramilda.
Can you type that out, please? Thank you, Romilda.
Yes. I actually have a home quite near the inn. If you spend some time here in Barovia, you're welcome to stay at my home as well, but an old woman has to earn a living. It's not cheap making such delicious pastries.
I understand. We will make our way to the inn. I hope the rest of your day is as safe.
Well, thank you. Bless you, child. May the Morning Lord guide you on your journey.
You as well. And Naru's is gonna give her like a polite bow and then back off.
Yeah, and she picks up 2 little more bundles out of her cart and heads up to the house that she's parked in front of and raps on the door, and you see a kind of the door kind of creaks open, and a little sliver between the old woman and the person who opens the door of the home, and she quickly drops a few coins in the old woman's hand, and the old woman hands the 2 little bundles up to the person who opens the door of the home, and then the person slams the door shut in the old woman's face, and she hobbles to her cart and continues to roll it up the street.
No, as soon as our group is away from this old lady a significant distance, Nice No is gonna say, "Don't trust that old lady."
Naru is
I
going
was
to
going to say, Ricky was stank eyeing the lady. He doesn't trust her. He's had plenty of story about old ladies selling poison apples.
Naru nods. I agree. I suggest none of us eat these pastries. I only got them so perhaps we can examine them.
Well, perhaps may I have a look then?
Naru nods, but I think we should head for the inn first. Maybe so we can get a room and do this in private.
Nice No nods.
Just breaking character for a minute. I love the fact that we don't trust her, yet we're trusting her at the same time.
I think that was more of just Nehru's deceptive charm, and we're just scowling.
Stank eyeing her. No.
So you guys head back down to the intersection and then towards the center of town, or what she described as the center of town?
Yep, I guess.
Okay. So you guys make your way back towards the fork in the road and head towards the center of the village, and once you make your way a certain distance, it's easy to tell, spilling out through the fog, there is some light pouring out into kind of like a town square. You see kind of a sparse light from a building on your left that spills out from behind like a drawn heavy curtains, and there's a sign over a door that kind of creaks on its hinges, and it reads Bill Drath's Mercantile. And then kind of to the right of the fountain, to the north, you see another building with more shafts of light pouring out, illuminating the main square here with brightness, looking like a solid pillar kind of in the heavy fog. Above the gaping doorway, there's kind of like a swinging saloon doors, like an old western, kind of inn, and a sign hangs precariously askew, and it reads Blood on the Vine Tavern. The building looks to be about 60 feet square, and you can hear kind of like a faint creaking, like violin sound coming from within.
I point at the tavern and say, "Shall we?"
Naru nods and heads for the door.
So you head towards the inn or Bildrass Mercantile.
The inn.
The end. Nuru's probably gonna go up to, I'm assuming, what, the innkeeper behind the bar here.
Yeah, so, as you enter, you kind of see, 3, women kind of joking and laughing to the right of you. They seem, hold on, I think... between the 3 of them on the table, there's like they're laughing and speaking in like an old ancient tongue that none of you understand really quietly between the 3 of them, and there's like a violin floating above the table between them and a couple empty looking bottles of wine. And as you all 3 of you enter, the violin continues to play, but they momentarily stop speaking between each other and kind of look over towards you. And they all have kind of a blank expression on their faces. And you look to the left, and there seems to be a dour, pudgy, short man with balding hair behind the bar, wiping down a series of glasses. And in the very back corner of the inn, you can see a man wearing dark attire and flowing blonde, platinum blonde hair, glaring at the table of 3 women near the entrance of the bar, with a very sour expression on his face, slowly sipping from a goblet of a silver chalice of wine, and also a deep red bottle of wine sitting near the center of his table.
I wave at the ladies and say, do you know there's the guy in the back who's giving you ladies a weird look?
Yeah, one of them says, "Oh, don't mind Ismark the Lesser. He is just upset because his father recently died. He spends his days and nights drinking his life away. Don't mind him much."
What makes him the lesser?
Well, he will never match up to a leader or burgomaster that his father was. He is weak,
He's your link?
and he is sour.
Naru's ears are gonna perk up to the word, what was it, burgomaster?
Yeah. As the woman kind of insults the man in the back of the tavern, you hear, like, chair legs screech, and he stands and slams his hand down on the table, and he says, "Liars! You know very well that you killed my father. Your people killed my father. And I will do everything in my power to make sure that you all suffer horrible deaths." And the other 2 women, like, throw their heads back and chuckle, and they say, "Ismark the Lesser, you will never match up to a burgomaster that your father was. You're weak, and your family is weak, and you will always be under the thumb or the shadow of your father." And they all kind of laugh, and they turn towards the 3 of you, and they say, "Come, please, welcome to Blood on the Vine. Have some drink on us. Please, pour some wine for our new friends."
I turn to the rest of the group and say, these ladies are mean. And then I'm going to go walk over to the silver-haired man.
Yeah, like Naru's was also, like, he kind of ignored that whole transaction and already had, like, gone up and went up to the barkeep, or the innkeeper.
Sure. He,
didn't really
like,
ignore.
he doesn't really even, like, acknowledge your presence very much. He's kind of like, a pudgy little man. He's looks like he's kind of mindlessly cleaning the glasses one after another, and like once he gets to the last glass that's on the table, he just goes back to the first one and starts cleaning it again. And what do you say to him?
Sir.
He says, in kind of a hollow voice, 1 glass of wine, a copper. A pitcher of wine, 1 silver.
No, thank you. I was going to ask if you had rooms for the night and food.
He just continues to, like, wipe the glasses down. And doesn't really respond to you. You can see, like, his skin is very pale, and his clothes are very, like, earthen toned, and his eyes are very dark and hollow. And he seems to barely recognize your presence. And one of the women from the table with the little floating violin says, don't you mind Eric, he is kind of dull. We can provide you inn for the night, and food as well. You see, me and my sisters own Blood on the Vine, and we're welcome to accommodate your stay. It's always nice to see new travelers.
Thank you.
Welcome to Barovia.
Thank you. We are very weary. We've had a rough entrance to your side.
You do not look like you are from these lands. It does take a bit of adjustment, but you will find that soon enough you will feel more at home. I promise you.
He gives him a very wide smile. Thanks.
Ricky, as you approach the darkly dressed blonde man, there are a few more. Well, he stands and walks to the bar and grabs 2 more glasses, and he, like, with very heavy, pronounced, deliberate footsteps, begins to walk back to the table that he was sitting at while he's glaring at the 3 women at the other table. And he sits and he sets the other glasses down, and he picks up a bottle on the table and pours it into this clear goblet that he's picked up from the bar and pushes it towards you. And he refills his glass as well. And that is when the dungeon master will get up and refill his beer.
Cliffhangers. Yeah, as when Ricky made that comment, Nice Note definitely agrees. She's just like,
Yeah, they're rude bitches.
Bitches.
Also,
So
you
we
would have
killed
noticed.
them.
Also, you noticed that Nice No's ears also did perk up at the Burgomaster comment.
Mm-hmm.
And right now she noticed the guy, and she's like gently approaching him, sort of wary because of the undead that you guys just encountered, but then stopped at their comment, and afterward is going to proceed to move over towards where Ricky is, but not until you've moved closer to them. She's basically keeping an eye on you, not trusting them.
Yeah, like Nuru, he's probably like over about here now, but he's definitely trying to inch his way closer to Ricky and the to Nice No, Ricky and the guy. He's like trying to get out of there without losing any political, or I guess not political, but without losing any favor.
Yeah, try not to incur wrath.
Yes.
Your character is so just like one face, hold off. Another face, put it on. Okay.
Considering how he grew up, that's
Yeah, fair enough. But it's still like just amusing to watch these masks come on and off. Meanwhile, Nice Nose just like, yeah, I'm not putting on anything for anybody.
Ricky, as the man at your table silently pours you some wine, and Nuru, the three Vistani-looking women, they look quite colorful and much like the people that were traveling with Stanimir, who brought you into these lands, offer you room and board for the night. Nice know you find your own table. Is that what that looks like to me?
Yeah, Nice Snow basically is keeping a distance to keep close to Nehru in case something goes wrong, but is trying to get closer to the platinum blonde man.
Mm-hmm.
She's basically looking out for him.
Sure. Ricky, when you sit and get poured a glass of wine, the liquid that the man pours into your glass is a deep red, and you notice the label on the bottle says Red Dragon Crush, and it's kind of faded and worn, but there is the outline of an old kind of platinum dragon on the label of the bottle of wine, and very faintly in kind of a cursive script on the bottom, it reads from the Wizard of Wine's winery, and then the year is kind of too faded to read, much like the barrels of the Vistani that you traveled with in their carts. And the man says, "Don't listen to the Vistani. They are full of lies. They are agents of Strahd. They mock me. But one day I will have my revenge against them. But
Well,
my apologies. My name is Ismark, and you are clearly a stranger to these lands. So please tell me about yourself."
Well, I'm Ricky, and I'm more interested in what makes you say they killed your father.
Maybe not directly, but the stress of Strahd and the constant assault of his minions is what did him in. He had a heart attack maybe 3 days ago.
I'm sorry to hear this, but as you said, we are not from here. Who is this Strahd?
He says, "Strahd rules these lands. He strikes fear into the hearts of its inhabitants, and all who live within Barovia fear him."
I've bared witness to the fear him, but if everyone fears him, why not rebel?
He lets out like a genuinely like hearty laugh, like it bellows from like deep within his belly. Oh, you are truly a stranger to these lands. Many have rebelled against the devil before, and all have failed. Most become his pawns in the game that we play, and all fail.
Nice Nose ears, like you see her expression go dour and dark as soon as she heard the word devil. And she's just like...
He says, "I pity you for finding your way here. You don't know it yet, but you will die much like all those before you have died."
Well, we will all die. That is a fact of life, my friend.
Well, you look like a young man. You will die sooner than you ever expected. And I pity you.
Well, we are new to town. Is there anywhere we could stay that is not run by these witches? And I point over my shoulder at the women.
He says, as a matter of fact, I need some help.
Go on.
I wish to take my sister away from here, but she refuses to leave before we bury my father. Before he died, the devil Strahd paid visits to our home. And our father, he kind of quiets down, leans in towards you and says, my father was old and naive. The devil Strahd charmed his way into our house and preyed upon my sister Irina. My father, on the third night of his visit, could not take the strain, and his heart failed him. We built a coffin, but it is too dangerous to bring my sister to the church and bury him alone. She refuses to leave until our father is in the ground and has a proper burial. I could use some help bringing him to the church. If you were to help us, we could give you shelter, and perhaps you could help me convince my sister to get far away from this place before Strahd takes her for his own.
That sounds like a fair deal. When are you planning on burying your father?
He says, I would have done it already if I wasn't so worried about my sister's safety. But if you are willing to help me, then as soon as possible would be preferable, and we can all leave this cursed place.
That would be a great idea, but we just fought some fish, weird humans. They smelled. They were ugly. And we are in need of rest before we would be able to help you. If you could supply that rest, I can't speak for my companions, but I would be more than willing to help you if you could allow us to rest, and then we will help bury your father.
One of the women at the other table says, don't let Ismark the Lesser deceive you. He is a weak and feeble boy. He does not know what he speaks of. Strahd is a benevolent and kind man, and he looks over these lands like they are his own, like they have always been his own, and they will always be his own. This Ismark does not know what he speaks of, and you would be foolish to help him.
Then perhaps I am a fool. And I turn back away from them.
Nice No will also pipe up on this and basically go, nice to everyone.
Nuru will smile at these women. He's like slowly been inching away, not too much to be at ease, but throughout this, and he'll smile regretfully at them. As lovely as your offer sounds, I have to stick with my companion. But please know that if the choice were purely up to me, I would be more than willing to stay here.
They say, well, then you are all fools. Follow Ismark the Lesser to your deaths, or stay here and have a joyous time. We'll even show you to Madame Eva, and she will read your fortunes, and perhaps she will guide you to your destiny. But the choice is yours. We cannot force you. Take this drunk fool's word and follow him to your death. That's fine.
Nuru smiles sadly. I must talk to my companions, but I thank you for your offer nonetheless, and for your wisdom. And he'll turn and turn enough so his face isn't in direct, so they can't see his face, and he'll just This is an expression of disgust.
Sure.
I'm just imagining that like wide open mouth like a cat yawn. Just like
Kind of like a cat hacking up a hairball, but without the motions in this mouth.
That's great. Good visual. And upon seeing you retreating gently, Nice Snow will get closer to this situation over here.
Mhm.
Ismark looks like a little disappointed in himself, actually, and he says, well, part of what they say is true. Since my father's death, I have been drowning myself and my sorrows in wine. So perhaps my judgment is a bit clouded, but what I certainly know for sure is that Strahd wants my sister for some reason, above all else, and I know that she will not leave this place until we bury our father in the cemetery.
How much of the conversation was Nuru able to hear? Because I mean, I know he was like distracted by the three women.
Make a perception check.
While that's happening, I'm going to say to the man whose name I've forgotten, it is a hard time when you lose your family. But you'll get through this. I'm going to use my last bardic inspiration on him.
How long does the bardic inspiration last again, Ricky?
10 minutes.
Okay, so yeah, the one on me would have been far gone. Okay.
Maybe not far gone, but yeah, gone.
Ismark says, well, if you all want to follow me to my home, perhaps we can convince my sister together to leave this place. All we need to do is bury our father first, and I think that she will leave with us.
Very well, lead the way.
But Nuru is gonna pipe up. May we have food and rest before we go on?
Ismark says, we can prepare ourselves for the journey. The church is not far from our home, but if you need rest, then you may rest before we carry our father's coffin to the cemetery and the priest to bury him. And
Yeah,
we can
Naru's
feed
just
you
like-
as well.
Yeah, Naru's just gonna gesture to their bloodied, battered bodies.
Yeah.
As soon as they're out of the tavern, though, like Naru will lean in and like lower his voice as like, how do you say this? Colon?
What?
The Burgomaster letter.
Oh,
Yeah. Colon Indrovich? Indrovich?
Kolyan.
The
Yeah.
letter.
Kolyan Indrovich.
Kolyan? Okay, Kolyan. So, like, he's going to ask, what's your father's name? Kolyan. And do you have a sister named Irina?
He looks a little surprised and he says, indeed, that is my father and my sister.
Naru will, take a moment to go through his bag.
He kind of takes a step back from you and he says, you are an agent of Strahd as well? How would you
No.
know this?
Please, one moment.
You
And
see
he
he
pulls
has
out
like
this
a
letter.
silvered longsword at his side, and he grabs it, the hilt, like he's about to draw it.
Can
We
he make an
found
insight check? He has advantage on it.
Like, Naru, like after a moment, he pulls out the letter. He's like, no, we found this on our way into the city.
He looks at it. Do you hand it to him?
Yeah.
He doesn't let his guard down, but with his other hand he takes the letter and he looks at it and he says, this is my father's handwriting. It seems that he was trying to give a warning for travelers, to turn back. All who enter our realm are doomed. And despite what I wish, I fear that you are all doomed as well. And he hands the letter back to you. You should have turned back at the gates of Barovia, but I fear now you are trapped here.
What do you mean that we cannot leave?
Ismark says, Barovia and its people are cursed. Sometimes I sleep and I dream, and in my dreams I see myself living the same life over and over and over again. But I see from time to time people like you, people that shine, people that are different than us. But each of my dreams end the same, in darkness and blood. That is why I pity you. But perhaps they are just my dreams. Come, let us go meet my sister.
You have not answered my question. Why can we not leave?
Have you tried to leave?
No.
I know why my sister cannot leave, because she will not leave until we bury our father, but he died only 3 days ago. Otherwise, I am next in line as the burgomaster of Barovia, so I would never abandon my people, no matter how dark our town becomes. But if you have not tried to leave, then how can I answer that question? I don't leave because I would not abandon my people, but I wish to bring my sister to safety, far away as I can from the Devil Strahd's tower. And you look, and as he points, and there's a 1,000-foot tall pillar at the edge of the town, and sitting looming over this small village that you're in is a massive stone castle. He says he always watches from the parapets of Ravenloft, named after his dead mother. Strahd always watches. I must get Irina as far away from Barovia as I can. To the city of Kresk. They have high walls. She might be safer there. She will not leave until we bury our father.
Then perhaps we should hurry to your home so you can hurry up and bury your father.
So, as you guys exit the Blood on the Vine Tavern, Ismark makes his way down south through the city streets. And at the end of the road, he approaches a wary-looking mansion that kind of squats between a rusting iron fence. The iron gate looks a bit twisted and torn and cast aside, and the left side of the gate is kind of swinging lazily in the light breeze. He moves through, and you can see that the weeds kind of choke the ground and press menacingly upon the house. Around the walls, the growth looks like it's been kind of tampered down to create a path all around the domain, and heavy claw marks have stripped the once beautiful finish of the walls. There are great black marks that tell of fires that have assaulted the mansion, and there is no pane or shard of glass that stands in any of its windows. They seem barred with planks, and each one of them marked with a stain of evil omens. As you approach through the fence, Ismark knocks heavily on the door, and you hear a voice call out from beyond. Very light but confident. Ismark, is that you? And Ismark says, yes, Irina, it is me, and I have brought friends. People will help us bury father, and we can flee this place. It is time. And there's like a silent pause, and you hear a key click in the door that swings open. And you see kind of a you can kind of see the interior of the mansion. Looks fairly well furnished. The fixtures all around show signs of great wear. There are a few noticeable oddities in the inside as you first peer in. All the windows seem to be boarded, and there are presences of holy symbols in all the rooms that you can see in the interior. To the right side, as you kind of gaze in at an angle, there seems to be a wooden coffin, and you can see a corpse lying within it in a drawing room on the side. It's kind of surrounded by wilting flowers, and there's like a faint odor of decay that spills out of the door as Irina opens. You see Irina seems to be like a striking young woman. She's got kind of auburn hair, and she's wearing kind of a high-necked lace undershirt over kind of a faded cream-colored shawl or tabard, and she says, she lets out kind of a sigh of relief as she sees Ismark standing at the door, and she says, come, Ismark, come in. Invite our guests. I'm so sorry for being rude. You can never be too careful. Please, come in.
You guys are much nicer than the last people I encountered. I walk.
Is Ricky referring to the women or the other house?
Both. And the zombies.
Alright.
Also,
Ismark says, my sister has a warm heart. Sometimes she can be too kind for her own good. For the past couple of nights before my father died, Strahd came and charmed his way into our home. And I believe that he's trying to make my sister his bride.
In the letter, it said your sister was bit by a vampire.
Irina kind of rubs her hand over the high collar of her black lace shirt. She says, my memory of the past few days is very blurry. When my father died, before my father died, every night wolves and dark creatures came and scratched at the walls of our home. And Strahd came and charmed his way in. I remember him being in my room and looking into my eyes. And I woke up with a pain in my neck. But ever since Father has died, it has been quiet. And Ismark wishes us to flee. But I would not feel right leaving Father just lying here in our home. I wish to give him a proper burial.
That's why we're here.
And then I think what Ismark says is right. We should leave this place.
Nuru nods in understanding, specifically at the part about the proper burial.
Mainly because I just want to establish, like, would I recognize any of the holy symbols?
Yeah, you can make a history check.
History or religion?
No, yeah, religion, sorry. Yeah. You recognize these holy symbols on all the walls of these rooms as, like, a very ancient interpretation of the Morning Lord, Lathander. Back in Faerun, you know, the symbology has been quite modernized, and these are all very old wooden carvings of a sun. Many of the ones inside of the Burgomaster's mansion here are kind of painted in gold, and there's even one that is kind of a stained glass window near the back of one of the other rooms that you can see. Kind of a sprawling green hills, and then like a setting or rising sun in the background. And Irina says, we must take Father to Donovich, the priest of our town, but I know that he has troubles of his own, and he has had for some time. We might have difficulty getting Father buried, but I don't want you to be surprised. We live in fear here in Barovia, and most people don't dare leave their homes. Our father used to be a pillar of strength in our community, but now that he's been gone, I fear that we are truly in darkness. There's nothing left for me and Ismark here, but I cannot just leave our father lying here on the floor of our home. Please help us.
All beings should walk free of fear, with the right to live their lives as they wish. We will help.
Nuru nods.
We would be glad to help, but we have seen combat. Do you mind if we rest first?
Irina says, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I did not notice that you were all injured. Yes, please, come in. Make yourselves comfortable. I will cook some
Exceptions worse
food."
than mine.
She says, "Ismark, you are so rude and single-minded. Please, let us help our guests first. It's going to be a long road ahead." And Ismark is kind of like swaying, and he says, "I'm sorry, Irina. My mind has been so clouded since Father has died. I will try to avoid wine from now on until you are safe again. But you are right. We should allow our friends to rest. In the morning, we will help bury Father, and then we will head for Kresk." Irina says, "Yes, after we bury Father, I will go with you. Please, make yourselves comfortable. I will cook what we have." And she kind of disappears into a room beyond, and Ismark kind of gestures for you beyond the coffin the other way into the sitting room. You know, there's still the like 3-day scent of a dead body in the room with all these garlands of decaying flowers around the coffin. Ismark says, "I'm sorry, but this is the best place we have to sit. And, well, I guess we could go into the dining room as well. Maybe that would be more appropriate." And there's like a big gray drape over like this long table in the next room, and Ismark pulls it off, and this big cloud of dust like puffs out, and there's a couple candles underneath, and he sets them upright, and he goes off into the where you can hear Irina preparing food. And he comes back and sets the candelabras up right and lights them, and it's very grim in here. And Ismark says, "So, where are you all from?"
I never remember the name of the town, but I say, I'm from that town.
Nuru,
It's a small halfling village.
Nuru would just say Calimport. Like just the one word Calimport, and then he'll look curiously over to Nice Snow.
Nice Snow says Lunia.
Also, can Ricky offer to help in the kitchen because Ricky wants to learn how to cook?
Yeah, sure.
So I shout out, could I give you a hand? I long to learn the kitchen.
You hear Irina from the other room says, "Oh, the more the merrier, absolutely. Come, please, help."
How strong is the scent of the dead body in decay in the dining room where they're currently sitting?
I mean, it's fairly decently masked by all the flowers that they've set around it. But I mean, it's faint. But it's still there.
Nuru he'll stick around for a little bit, but he's eventually going to move to the kitchen as well because the scent is just different.
Sure. Irina, when you come in, you see Irina has lit lights all around the kitchen. So there are tall candles burning, and the kitchen looks fairly clean. She's lit. There's kind of a small stone stove, and she's lit some coals underneath, and there's like a metal grate, and she put a couple of cast iron pans down, and looks like she's kind of cut some slabs of soft butter into both of them, and she's set some eggs down on the counter, and there's a bit of meat, but it looks kind of gray, and she puts it in one of the pans as soon as the butter starts kind of bubbling, and then in the other pan she starts to crack the eggs, and she says to you, Ricky, she hands you like a little flat metal instrument with a handle on it, and she says, as soon as you see the white part of the eggs become less clear, just flip them over, and as soon as you see the meat begin to bleed, give it a turn, and then she begins to
Ricky says okay, and he stares sternly at the eggs and the meat, like
Yeah.
daring not to blink.
So there's like a small door in the floor near one edge of the wall, and she lifts up this small hatch and she says, "I'm going to go into the cellar and retrieve some wine for us all to drink." And she kind of disappears down below the home and leaves you there looking at the meat and the eggs. And Nuru comes in to the kitchen now, curiously, and leaves Ismark and Nice Snow in the other room. And Ismark says to you, Nice Snow,
Nice Snow's not even there.
where's Nice Snow?
She headed out of the room back when she stated the name of her home and is somewhere else in the house.
Standing over the corpse of the dead father. It's like, is this a zombie?
No, not near the corpse either.
Like, Nuru wasn't curious when he entered the kitchen. More vaguely uncomfortable.
Sure. Irina comes back up a few moments later with a couple of bottles of wine, and she sees you and Ricky standing there over the food, and she says, "Oh, I'm such a terrible host. I should be providing all this service for you. Please go back and sit down. Let me pour you some wine. Let me bring you some food. You are going to do us."
No, I'm learning.
Nuru smiles and says, "I do not care much for wine. I've had as much as I'm willing to have."
She says, "Very well. The food will be done shortly, and I will have Ismark clear some rooms for you to sleep in tonight."
I'm also going to whisper to her, I have a gift for your brother, and I'm going to pass her the mug. Give him wine in this. Trust me.
She looks at the mug kind of curiously, and she looks at you and she says, "I'm sure he will be honored to drink from your glass. Please, go sit. I will bring you all some food. Please, please. I'm being a terrible hostess."
I'm being stern. I'm not leading the cooking.
Okay.
Nuru isn't
I will
either.
gain proficiency with cooking utensils, damn it.
She kind of puts one of her hands on her hips and she glares at you, Nuru, and she says, "Please, go sit back down at the table. Let us bring you some food."
I had to deal with the stench with my mother, and forgive me for my words, but I will not deal with the stench with my father.
She says, her brow kind of furrows, and she says, "I understand. Let me give you a plate, and you can eat outside if you wish."
No, I will be fine once the food would prefer.
She smiles down at you, Ricky, and she says, "You're very persistent." And she grabs the utensil she handed you out of your hand, and she says, "You waited a little too long to flip these eggs." And she flips them over, and she says, "But the meat is just about ready." And she flips that as well, and you can see that the side that was in the pan has been kind of browned, and she says, "It's been so long since we've had guests, and I have not felt quite right since Father died. It's very nice to have you all here. I can't thank you enough. Ismark has been very persistent with having us leave Barovia, but I could not leave our father just lying dead on the floor of our home, so I cannot thank you enough, and although you will have a nice rest and I will fill your bellies tonight, I owe you so much more." And she says, "Oh, the food is done. Please, all come sit." And she brings a big, thick steak of like kind of still gray-looking meat, and the eggs look okay, but the meat definitely doesn't smell quite right. But she cuts pieces of it up, and she says, Ismark, come on. Just, why have you not yet set the table? And Ismark says, I'm sorry, Irina. And he says, I will set the table. And he goes into the kitchen and brings out a bunch of plates and sets the table. And Irina comes out and says, please all sit. Let's have one good night before we lay father to rest and leave this cursed place. It would bring me such joy. I haven't had guests in so long.
I take a seat.
Nice
Nuru
Snow
takes
from a corner of the house, or sorry, Nuru from like a few rooms over in the corner of the house. You can hear like a weeping. And you notice Nice Snow is missing.
Nuru won't. Nuru will say, excuse me, and he'll follow the sound.
Sure. Irina says, don't take too long, your food will get cold. And you follow the sound and you see across from where the burgomaster is laying in his coffin, there's another like side sitting room, and in a dark corner near a window you see Nice Snow on her knees, quietly weeping.
Nuru will walk up next to her. He'll lay a hand on her shoulder, but he won't say anything. He's not gonna. He'll just look forward. Not unkindly, but more so to give her space if she wants it, rather than to be condescending.
Yeah, and she's just sitting there like kneeling, and she's got like tears going down her face, but it's not like impassioned crying, it's more just like suffering crying, if you will. And she's just continuing like that. Yeah, she just continues like that for a while.
After a while, Nuru, like he'll just move down, so he's kneeling next to her rather than standing.
So as you guys are kneeling there side by side in a side room of Ismark and Irina's home, you can hear from the dining room, and you can kind of from the peripheral of your vision see the glow of the warm candlelight that's been lit. Irina and Ismark speaking to Ricky, asking him about where he came from, and asking about how he got here to Barovia, and you can hear kind of like them, the screeching of, silverware on plates as they cut their meat and eat their dinner, and they converse between the three of them throughout their meal as you guys continue to kneel together in a side room, and you hear Irina push her chair out and say, "It's been very pleasant to meet you, Ricky. I let Ismark show you to your room." And then you kind of feel a few moments later like a presence behind the both of you, and you hear a soft voice behind say, "Ismark is making up rooms for the both of you upstairs. I don't know what it is that you're going through, but whatever your pain is, I share with you. And I am glad that you are here. I will be happy to see your faces again in the morning."
Nuru will stand up. He'll leave his tail in a way, or he'll maneuver his toe in a way that it's still, just like making contact with Nice Snow, like perhaps like draped across her shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll turn to Irene and say, Your willingness to stick with your father is something I'm glad to be able.
As you turn and stand, you can see that Irina has kind of already turned and began to move away, but she stops and she doesn't turn back, but you can see the back of her head and her kind of lower part of her skirt in the door frame, and she says, "I'll see you in the morning," and moves out of the door. And a few minutes later, or not even a few minutes, but like shortly after, you can hear the heavy footsteps of Ismark coming down from the second floor of their mansion, and he appears in the door and he says, "Your rooms are ready. We should get some rest so we can bring father to the church as early as possible in the morning, and then leave this place."
We will rest soon. Could you do us a favor and bring our plates to our room so we eat before we rest?
Yes.
I assure you, we will rest.
I will do so. Your friend Ricky is the first door on the right at the top of the stairs, and each of you have a room as well, just to the right of that room. So, in the morning, I will wake you all. Get good sleep, eat your food, and I can't thank you enough for coming and assisting us in this endeavor.
Nuru nods and just sort of, like, he nods politely, but just sort of waits for him to leave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you hear him, like, kind of pad back up the stairs, and then you hear a heavy door shut.
I was gonna say, I love the somber moment with the cheerful music.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good.
I've been doing it, I didn't want to change it, because for some reason it was, like, fitting. I don't know why it was so fitting, but, like,
It was representative of how Ricky was enjoying it.
yeah.
Yeah, Ricky's just there eating, meanwhile, like, somewhere else. Why? No.
Yeah, I know.
But,
that's my bad. It was my bad.
No, that was hilarious. It's that, like, weird, awkward kid in, like, the corner of a party sort of feel. It's great. Yeah.
So after Ismark leaves, Nuru will sort of just say softly, "Dry your tears. You should eat. It'll help you feel better, though I do not know what ails you."
So we're if we had started at the normal time, right now we're still like 20 minutes past like the normal session duration if we have a full party. Do you guys want to keep going for a little while, or are you satisfied? This is like a good stopping point, otherwise we can keep going for a while.
I would say I only have a little bit more like in this scene to go before we're all asleep.
Mm-hmm.
So we can end here and come and then continue next week, or we can go for like another 40 minutes to an hour.
Can we just like at the very least wrap up this specific scene?
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are gonna wake up in the morning and go up to the church for sure, but like when we go up to the church, it's gonna get pretty intense. So.
Yeah. No, I mean like.
No.
Scene between Nuru and Nice Snow before.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. Okay. So after Nuru says, "Dry your tears. I don't know what ails you," and all that. Nice Snow's gonna go. It is it's hard for any to understand unless you have lived it. And She just remarks that this I have been here 3, 4 years now, and it hasn't gotten any better.
Some things do. Some things. There are things you need to learn how to live with because you can't
Right.
change.
Something kind of strikes you a little odd about that statement, though, Nuru.
It does.
Like, Nice Nose saying, like, you guys have been here in Barovia for but a day. Nice Nose says she's been here for 3 or 4 years, but she looks much older than a 4-year-old.
Like Nuru has been like keeping track of like the things she's been saying throughout this campaign, like the little oddities. Necessarily know.
But that's like very strange. It's a very strange thing to say. Like, I've been here for 3 or 4 years. That's a very strange thing for like an adult woman to say, you know?
It's just sort of like, but that's like just sort of like confirming like some of the theories that he's been
Sure.
building up.
But you don't press her.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
But he just like says like there's some things you can't change, and the best you can do is to learn to live with them and to move on.
I don't want to live with them. I want to go back home.
What did you say?
I don't want to live with them. I want to go back home.
And when you say that, Nice Snow, the selfishness of that statement causes the ring around your neck to darken a shade and tighten a few millimeters. And you can feel it close in like it's choking you. But, you know, it's not. But just a millimeter of closing of your ring around your neck feels like a giant gripping your throat and squeezing as hard as it can.
Naru's going to ask after a moment, is it possible for you?
I don't know.
Then for now, you're going to have to learn to accept your situation for once. Not that it's hopeless, but for the moment, there's nothing we can do about it.
And I suffer. And with that, she is the plate of food in the room with us?
It's up in your single rooms upstairs, yeah.
She will try to make her way to that room.
Sure. So, do you guys want to go for like another hour, or do you want to end the session like there?
I do have one more thing to say.
Sure.
Like as Nuru passes by her door, like as she walks in the room, he'll just stop and say, "I suffer with thee," before heading on to his own room.
Yeah. Ricky, make a perception check.
I'm expecting a 1 this time. I get to reroll it. I am lucky.
No, leave it.
Wow,
Leave it.
holy
It's too
shit.
perfect. Oh, come on.
So as you are like settling into your bed, you hear a couple footprints or footsteps come up the stairs and pass by your
I
room.
hear footprints. Wow.
You hear a door shut, and then you hear Naru's voice say, "I suffer with you," outside of your door, and then you hear another door shut.
It's out of context, so it means.
Yeah, it's like it's like totally out of context thing. So do you guys want to go for like another hour, or do you want to end the session right there? That's a good place to end, but we can go for another. We can go for another hour.
That's a good place to. Do we feel like going into combat for longer, or no?
What I would say is, A, this is a good place to end. B, it's an easy place to bring Mark back in next week.
Yeah, it really
And
is.
C, I can go for another 8 hours, so it's up to you guys.
All right. So we will end. That's a good place to end. You all go into your rooms in the Burgomaster's mansion in Barovia. Ismark and Irina retire to their own separate rooms on the second floor of their home as well. And Nice Snow and Nuru, you do have plates of food resting on top of some heavy wooden chests at the end of your kind of queen size, very fluffy beds, and you all get a very Ricky probably gets a decent night's sleep. Nuru and Nice Snow, you probably get a very troubled night's sleep as you both consider your pasts, and we will pick up next week on Curse of Strahd when you wake up in the morning to help Ismark and Irina bury their father at the church.
Real quick, just a little flavor note. Before Nice Snow goes to bed, she uses the dancing lights and the light cantrip to bring as much light into her room because it reminds her of home.
Yeah. And Nice Snow, Hemdriel, you lay down in your bed in a perfectly illuminated room, maybe feeling a little more at peace than you did before you made your way up the stairs. The food tastes like shit, though.
Yeah, it always tastes like shit.
So awesome. Man, I never had that. So it was like very a lot of time spent in Barovia. Like, I'm glad that you guys kind of explore so much. You know.
May I ask you to repeat that? Because my internet cut me out.
No, it's okay. Yeah, you're good.
Sorry.
But yeah, so that is a good place to stop. I mean, I could go for another hour, but that is a good place to stop. And next week we will come back to continue for more Curse of Strahd. So I appreciate you guys as always, and now I will be happy to catch